these people.
We're up to our not so favorite portion of the show, and that would be the fuck Israel portion. I brought two articles that are very similar, that are both out of Indie Media Award honorees. The first one is out of Council of State Media. Our friend Ricky wrote an article the other day. Israel is pretending to feed Palestinians while continuing to starve them. I don't think this is a surprise to anybody here. All right, he says, by now you've probably seen the images of Palestinians being crammed into cattle holds and being forced to beg soldiers for food. They had to stand in blistering heat for hours after walking 10 to 15 miles, and remember, they have no water, only to be given meager scraps, or in most cases, be turned away without anything. Over 30 people were reportedly abducted by IDF soldiers while queuing, and others were shot.
The Nazis changed, but they never went away.
This is an unbelievable scene. This is a scene that we thought would never happen again. We literally saw these scenes in Nazi Germany.
Yep.
3 Palestinians have reportedly been killed and 46 injured during this so-called aid distribution effort, which was distributed by U.S. mercenaries. The smiling teen on the right, who had just received aid a few hours earlier, was reportedly shot dead by an Israeli sniper. Here's a clip of an emaciated man explaining that he walked 10 kilometers to get aid and the IDF killed a young man in front of him. I'm unclear if he's talking about that guy or someone else, but either way, you can see how it's going to end, how going for aid is fraught with danger for Palestinians, but they literally have no other choice. It's like Hunger Games, literally.
Literally fucking Hunger Games.
Desperate Palestinians
Fucking stupid.
They tried to overrun an aid complex in Rafah because it appears that food was deliberately being withheld from them. Warning shots were fired to disperse them, but many escaped with food that had not yet been given out. The aid distribution effort is being run by a charity called the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation.
One thing, the bigger the smile, the sharper the knife.
You guys covered that on Wednesday. Yes, you guys covered that Wednesday, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, that it was anything but humanitarian. All right, which is comprised
the Wednesday before that too.
Which is comprised of U.S. mercenaries in coordination with IDF soldiers. They have no experience.
What's the group? It was Blackwater. Now it's fucking
Constellation Group.
No, it's something with. I'll look it up. Hold on.
I thought it was Constellation, but they have no experience in delivering aid, and what they're giving out is hopelessly insufficient, and that's by design. Again, starvation plus. We talked about this a Saturday night. I talked about this with the Dissident on our one-on-one last night. Take a look at what their aid packages contain. Note how nothing appears to be ready to eat and will require preparation from people living in tents. Good luck feeding your family with this. They figured out how to turn pasta into back into flour. I saw a video about that.
I did see that. Yeah.
Clearly, this is not
Italians don't look. It's fine.
Right. This is not a serious effort to distribute aid to 2 million people who are only starving because Israel destroyed 80% of their farmland and stole their land. It's exactly what you would do if you wanted to make the process as difficult and degrading as possible and wear Palestinians down while maintaining the pretense that you're helping. This again, remember, all of these gray area is the annihilation zone as we referred to it. I went through that on last Sunday. Fuck Israel. All right. If you doubt what I'm saying, just know that the American head of the GHF, Jake Woods, has resigned in disgust, and I hear there have been other resignations. It appears that Woods accepted the role with good intentions, but realized that he'd be unable to do his job ethically, which again was the intent. He criticized Israel for not allowing sufficient food and provisions into Gaza and said, because he actually had to look these people in the eye, he found some empathy. Look at that. I'm proud of the work I oversaw, including developing a pragmatic plan that could feed hungry people, address security concerns about diversion, and complement the work of long-standing NGOs in Gaza. However, it's clear that it's not possible to implement this plan while also strictly adhering to the humanitarian principles of humanity, neutrality, impartiality, and independence, which I will not abandon. Guess who's asking him to abandon his senses of humanity, neutrality, impartiality, and independence? I'm guessing it's not the Palestinians in Gaza. Woods had previously stated that Constellus, okay, he will not be part of anything that forcibly dislocates or displaces the Palestinian population. I don't know why he would have accepted it in the first place, because they already were displaced. Further displaces them forcibly? What? Huh? Mm. The UN refuses to work with the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, saying that this particular distribution plan does not accord with our basic principles, including those of impartiality, neutrality, and independence. Thanks, Eric Prince, and thanks, Trump administration. And again, this would have probably happened under Kamala Harris, too. Don't make no mistake.
Kamala.
The Lemkin Institute for Genocide Prevention issued the following statement, quote, "The U.S.-backed distribution of aid in Gaza using ex-military staff is a weaponization of food and a grotesque mockery of humanitarianism. This cruel spectacle is meant to distract from Israel's plans to forcibly displace all Palestinians from Palestine or murder them. Such action is as far away from humanitarian aid as one can go. We call it what it is, a tool of genocide." Yeah. It's awful.
You better say free Palestine.
Yeah, fucking diaper gang. That's right. That's right, Sean. All right. Only 7 aid trucks, 7, have been allowed into Gaza so far because Israel is, of course, stopping UNRWA and the World Food Program from entering. UNRWA says we have over 3,000 trucks, not only of food, but of medicine, waiting for the green light to go in. And they will never get that green light from Israel, at least from Israel. The U.S. will have to back them with our tanks, with our troops, to allow them to go in, which doesn't seem like that's going to happen either. They're carrying medicines, and they're expiring soon. Again, Israel's intent is to let those medicines expire, to let the milk go bad, to let the produce go bad. The U.S. claims that the GHF has distributed enough food to feed 40,000 people. That's 2% of the population that's left in Gaza right now, over 3.5 days. However, a Gaza relief coordinator called Ayad Amawi claims that even that figure is exaggerated and insists that Gaza needs 600 aid trucks a day. All right, here's the statement.
But we don't have time for rational solutions.
He says, to clarify what's happening with the American organization operating under the protection of the Israeli military is the following. They announced the existence of a warehouse in Tel Al-Sultan area west of Rafah City. Dozens of civilians voluntarily headed there without any organized distribution system to receive a food parcel, as you may have seen in some circulated photos. The process does not allow any regulated distribution mechanism like those previously managed by UN agencies. It's merely a demonstration, a way to claim that aid distribution has resumed, but it hasn't. The minimum distance a person must walk to receive a food parcel that barely lasts 2 days is more than 15 kilometers. There's no public transportation. They destroyed every vehicle. There's no roads. Only basic local tools like donkey-drawn carts can sometimes reach the area if the IDF doesn't shoot a donkey. A humanitarian appeal, which we verified, was issued by a family whose relative was detained during the distribution due to the military's presence nearby. The military demanded that that relative give over information about another relative that hasn't been seen since October 7th. It's crazy. A humanitarian appeal, which we verified, was issued by a family, again, whose relative was detained. This situation constitutes humiliation and degradation of the Palestinian citizen by intent. The current procedures resemble a ghetto, with people forced to enter through detour routes to receive aid in a degrading manner, and again with no system in place. I seem to recall our president of the United States free throw shooting paper towels to Puerto Ricans in need of aid at one point. So this is on
like
brand.
That's a fucking free throw shot, bro.
This
that's
is
like
on
Shaq
brand.
trying to free throw, dog.
All right.
You know?
This
fucking...
is ineffective and fails to reach large segments of the population. Again, by intent. They want to starve them out. They want to drought them. We are talking about tens of thousands across the Gaza Strip who will not be able to access these aid points by intent. A single distribution and location in Rafah, the heart of a military incursion zone.
Which,
go ahead.
I want you to think about like a single fucking point. Again, single point, one place. How many people do you think are starving? How many? Take a guess. Okay?
Rafah's
like,
right there.
How many? That right. Okay. Also, none of them are in the fucking north. There isn't any up there.
Nope. No,
why do you think that is?
Up there because they want to starve everybody out. They want to basically cut it in
and
half,
push it towards the fucking Sinai.
Push them all right out.
Yep.
All right.
To Egypt, and then once you make them in Egypt, then you claim Hamas is in Egypt, and you fucking take Egypt too. Like that's. Do you not see the fucking secret plan? In fact, I do believe it's General's plan. No, isn't that what it's called?
That is what it's called. Pretty sure you guys covered that.
Thank you. All right. I know shit.
Some shit.
Fucking just gotta remember it.
It will not be effective unless aid distribution is returned to a system managed by UN-affiliated institutions, ensuring neutrality, fairness, and inclusivity in the process, which, again, Israel has no intent to want to do. So you can say that, but you're just gaslighting because you know that they're not going to. And you're calling them out for what they're not doing, which is nice, but doesn't really help. Yes, they're pushing them into the sea. Not from the river to the sea, from the river into the sea is what they're trying to do. 2 million people. Yes, thank you, J-Dub.
They want them past the Nile. From the Euphrates to the Nile. They want all that shit. Take all that shit is the goal.
You would think that a 3-month starvation blockade followed by an insincere aid effort would be a moment of shame for even the most ardent Zionists, but instead, they've come to social media to say this proves no genocide is happening and that the IDF is the world's most moral army and other such nonsense. Which other army would feed their enemy? What? First of all, the people of Gaza were never their enemy. There were 20,000 fighters within that 2 million that they claimed to be their enemy, who also were not their enemy because they have been imprisoning all of them since they were born. They ask, admitting that they see civilians as the enemy. They gave the game away right there. It looks no different from queues at an airport. That looks like lines at an airport? What fucking airport you been to, buddy? Where does that look like TSA where people are literally lining up for food and crawling over each other and getting fucking shot at? Fuck these people, these gaslighting fucking Zionist cocksuckers. All right. Here, another one. At Auschwitz, they killed people. We feed them. No, you killed them. You killed them. Ignoring that people were fed at Auschwitz, too. Yeah, they actually fed all the prisoners there, and the prisoners actually worked and had somewhere to sleep. Not just tents. They didn't have to walk 15 fucking kilometers to get a drink while they were fucking dying of thirst. The whole narrative is that these horrendous scenes represent a generous aid distribution effort, but this isn't how you distribute aid. No other aid organization in the world funnels people into cattle holds, makes them stand in uncomfortable conditions for hours, hands out a few meager scraps to a small number of people, refuses to feed the rest, and then opens fire to disperse them.
I did not see what she was. Mr. Worf, villains who twirl their mustaches are easy to spot. Those who clothe themselves in good deeds are well camouflaged.
Fuck yeah. Captain Picard, dropping knowledge. Aside from anything else...
laying it down, dude.
Aside from anything else, you're asking the victims of a genocide to go to the soldiers who are exterminating them and beg for food. It's incredibly dehumanizing. Those same soldiers are about to cram the Gaza population into 3 concentration camps where they will have full
and throw
control.
tear gas at them.
Well, and with full
while
control over
giving them food.
every aspect of their lives because of this digital ID and this, the digital registration that they now have to do in order to be able to get rations. To imply any part of this process is ethical is frankly grotesque. All right. So Ricky may be mad with that one, but that was a really good piece that had a lot of detail. I also wanted to bring Jonathan Cook's, which is very similar. All right. But slightly different. A short guide on how to starve a population to death. Just basically observing and taking the playbook. And again, remember, this gentleman allegedly was shot and killed after this picture. All right. A short guide on how to engineer a genocide by starvation and ethnic cleansing. Choose your moment. Okay, you've been ethnically cleansing, occupying, oppressing, and killing your neighbors for decades. The international courts have ruled your actions illegal, but none of that will matter the minute your neighbors retaliate by attacking you. Don't worry. The Western media can be relied on to help out here. They'll only be too ready to pretend that history began the day you were attacked. Literally had a conversation, sadly, with my Zionist father about this, and he's like, oh, they'll October 7th. I said, it didn't start October 7th. What happened October 6th? What happened in all of 2023 when over 250 Palestinians were murdered by the IDF? What about the tens of thousands of Palestinians that are sitting in Israeli jails right now without charge? Children being tortured.
That's just a phase, Dad.
Declare in response,
Yeah.
Number 2, your intention to starve your neighbors, treating them as human animals, which Yoav Gallant did, which Bezalel Smotrich has done, by blocking all food, water, and power, which Netanyahu has happily done. You'll be surprised by how many Western politicians are ready to support this as your right to defend yourself. The media will echo them.
What the
Important,
fuck ever.
Not to just talk about blocking aid, you must actually do it. There'll be no serious pushback for many, many months. Start relatively slowly, time's on your side. Let a little bit of aid in, but make sure to relentlessly smear the well-functioning, decades-old aid distribution system run by the international community. One that's transparent, accountable, and widely integrated into the community it serves. Say it's infiltrated by terrorists and that all of them are Hamas. Yes. Then they use that claim, which is evidence isn't really necessary, of course, and the Western media never asks for it, as the pretext to bomb the aid system's warehouses, distribution centers, and community kitchens. Oh, and don't forget to bomb all the private bakeries, destroy all the farmland, shoot all the animals, and kill anyone who tries to use a fishing boat, so there are literally no other sources of food. You are now in control of the trickle of aid reaching what is rapidly becoming a malnourished population. Time to move into higher gear, number 5. Stop the international community's aid getting in altogether. You'll need a humanitarian cover story for this bit. The danger, particularly in an age of social media, is that images of starving babies will make you look very bad, but hold firm, you can get through this. Claim, again, evidence isn't really necessary, and Western media won't ask for it, that the terrorists are stealing the aid. Don't believe your lying eyes. You'll be surprised how willing the media is to talk about babies going hungry, ignoring the fact that you're starving them to death, or speak of a famine as though coming from drought and crop failure, not from your carefully laid plans. Again, this sounds like a country that actually did that. Situation is dire. Yes, it is, because Israel did so. Number 6, don't lose sight of the bigger story. You're blocking aid to eradicate the terrorists. After all, what's the worth of a baby, a child, all 1 million of them, in the fight to eliminate a ragtag army of 30,000 lightly armed terrorists, quote unquote, who've never waged their struggle outside their historic homeland? Now consider that the population are entirely at your disposal. You can roll out a humanitarian alternative to the existing system that you've been vilifying and wrecking. Probably best to have been working on this part of the plan behind the scenes from early on, and how to have regularly consulted with the Americans on how to develop it. You may even find that they're willing to fund it. You usually are. You can obscure their role by using the term private contractors. Where have we seen this playbook before? Now it's time for implementation. Obviously, the point is not really to distribute aid. It's all about providing a cover story so that the starvation and ethnic cleansing can continue. And that's what we're seeing right now. Make sure you provide a tiny amount of aid and make it available to only a few distribution points that you've set up with these private contractors, and this has two advantages. It forces the population to come to the areas you want them in, like luring mice into a trap. Get them to the very edge of the territory, because from there, you'll be best positioned at some point to drive them over that border and get rid of them for good. Disgusting. Number 10. Your system will lead to chaos as desperate, starving people fight for food. That's what they want. That's great for you. It makes them look like a swarming mass of these human animals you were talking about from the start. Don't they deserve their fate? And it means that fit young men, the ones who survive, especially those from large, often armed criminal families, will end up with most of the food. The stuff they can't grab at distribution points, they'll ambush later as people try to return home laden with their heavy aid packages. They'll just steal it from them there. They'll knock them out and take the individual packages. That may seem counterproductive given that you're claiming to want to eliminate the terrorists. Won't these fit young men, as conditions degenerate further, provide a future source of recruits to the terrorists? Yes, so that they can continue to bomb and claim that they're being assaulted. But remember, the real goal here is to starve the population as quickly as possible. The young, the elderly, the sick, and the vulnerable are the ones who'll die first. The more of them who start dying, the faster the pressure builds on everyone else to flee the territory to save themselves. You're nearly there. True, faced with the emaciated bodies of your victims, Western politicians will start making harsh pronouncements, but they've already given you a massive head start of 20 months. Be grateful for that. Israel, you don't need much longer. While they dither, you can get on with the job of extermination. Leave it to the history books to judge what really happened. And that's awful. This is written from, it seems, from the perspective of a Zionist and what their plan would be. And who thinks like that? And how do they get to a point where they think like that? Shout out to Jonathan Cook for trying to reverse engineer how they think and why, and put that out there so that other people will read just how monstrous their thought process is. Because when you read it like that on paper, it sounds fucking insane. And yet this is exactly what's happening right now. All right. Well, we certainly will not be remonetized by YouTube for saying fuck Israel and showing this kind of stuff. So if you're able to at a means, please help out Cash App, Ko-fi, PayPal, Indie News Network, however you can. That works out great. The people who are highlighted there are people I want to give a special shout out to. You've got James and Sean, the Accord Lord Miller, and Anna Mayers, Kameshwari Kate, Natalie Williams, and Charlie Mack. Those are the super supporters, the people who have given consistently and the most over time. We love you. We appreciate you. We can't do the damn thing without you. And you motivate us to continue to do this. You motivate me to keep working my ass off every day and put content out and put out a daily newsletter and write articles and make sure that we've got a show on Sunday night ready to go for everybody.
You're learning so many important things, and I'm so proud of you.
So thank you, really, to everyone. Even if you can't get on that board and all you do is share the show. Thank you. Share the show. Share the fucking show. Support independent media because we need it more than ever. Love you, fam.
Mwah. Ciao, baby.
We are out of here.
No! We just fucking lost the stream!
You can't keep giving us nothing and think we're bluffing about coming for your heads. Why play civil if you won't listen to 50,000 died? And now we know our mission, we form a militia, make Congress a prison.
these people.
This is just an interesting and short poem that I thought was really different, that no one else really has seen yet. It's by someone, I don't even remember how it showed up in my feed. It was linked in a response to somebody else. And I was like, that's actually a really fucking poem. It mentions a lot of people and a lot of themes that we talk about, and we don't get to bring stuff like that often enough. I know we featured the poem like they shoot horses, don't they? And I actually connected with the author and the poet that wrote that. We of course have our resident poet Jesse Jett here at INN, and I know that Steve over at AM Wake Up will ban you from this and all known irrevocable universes irrevocably, permanently, if you assault him with unsolicited poetry. But here I'm going to do something a little different. So hopefully our friend at the Independent Review won't clip this one, so I don't get banned permanently over there. But this is the poem that I wanted to read and show. You know what? Let's do it on the other screen. Stenographers to Power. All right, by a man by the name of Dave Peck. He's just Dave Substack. It's Dave D-E-E-E 3 E's. Dave D Peck .substack.com. All right, and again,
coming to a Substack newsletter near you.
That's right. So, his poem reads, "A principle of democracy that is truly paramount is that those in power should be held to account. We need journalists to scrutinize what leaders are doing and to report on any misdeeds or trouble that's brewing. But the mighty U.S. government grew mightily scared when the news from Iraq by WikiLeaks was shared. They didn't want their war crimes in public arena. They couldn't tolerate a journalist with such a demeanor. The U.S. set its lawyers to work on getting Assange indicted, told the U.K. to lock him up and then to have him extradited. The Guardian embraced Assange and published many a story, with one scoop after another that they could bask in the glory. But when the U.S. decided that Assange was their foe, the paper quickly dropped him like a hot potato. Mainstream journalists won't risk their careers turning sour. They toe the establishment line as stenographers to power. On the Court of Justice ruling, there's agreement worldwide. Israel's occupation is illegal, and they're committing genocide. But Starmer stands with Israel and claims the UK does too. He thinks that he's our PM. He can speak for me and you. In Britain, 3/4 of us want a ceasefire today, although the truth is hard for us to find in any which way, because our mainstream journalists are a spineless shower who care not for the truth. They're just stenographers to power. Abuse of terrorism laws is a chilling sign of the times. Police target journalists who do report on Israel's war crimes. They detained Craig Murray and seized his laptop and phone. They were waiting for Richard Medhurst when he flew back home. Sarah Wilkinson's home was left looking like she'd had a break-in, and she and Asa Winstanley both had all their devices taken. These independent journalists tell the truth and refuse to cower, but there's no sign of solidarity from the stenographers to power. The journalists who live in Gaza are the world's bravest, where Israelis regard a press vest as a target on your chest. To prevent the truth about the genocide from being spread, they are trying to make sure that all the journalists are dead. They shot Mohammed al-Salhi in central Gaza back on day 1 and killed 140 by the time the year was done. Their deaths went unreported in our papers on TV NewsHour. There's no respect for martyred colleagues from stenographers to power. Good stuff. Very good stuff. And I guess that brings us to the beginning of our Fuck Israel segment. All right. So let's throw it out there now. We got Carlos Latuff. If you haven't followed him yet, what are you doing? At Latuff Cartoons. He drew 2 cartoons this week that basically said it all. And right now, the ship just got boarded, and they've now arrested / kidnapped the people that were on there. They're in international waters on their way to Gaza, unarmed, with diapers, and to become a single point of distribution, which is already set up to be a nightmare. And of course, they've been intercepted by Israel. So this shows the shark that Israel is intercepting the boat bound for Gaza. The other one I thought was even more powerful, which shows the IOF soldier, guns pointed at the children inside, screaming, "Any closer and you're next" at the boat. So, this is what's going on right now, fam. Fuck Israel.
Yep.
All right. Because remember,
How dare you?
Remember, it's not about Hamas, because an Israeli strike on Christian-run hospital in Gaza kills another 4 journalists. This was 3 days ago by our friend and Indie Media Award honoree Dave DeCamp from antiwar.com, also Indie Media Award honoree. On Thursday, Israeli forces struck the courtyard of the Al-Ahi Arab Baptist Hospital in Gaza City, killing 4 journalists and at least 2 other civilians. The hospital is run by the Episcopal Diocese of Jerusalem, which strongly condemned the attack in a statement that was released before a 4th journalist was declared dead. Quote, this morning at about 10:20 a.m. local time, Israeli forces fired inside the compound of our Al-Ahli hospital in Gaza City, killing 3 journalists as well as 2 others, including a father who was escorting his son to our surgical unit for treatment from previous injuries. In addition, this unprovoked assault against civilians wounded 30 other bystanders, among them 4 of our hospital staff. Of course, that was also part of Israel's intent. They love to murder and injure hospital staff.
Yep.
The diocese said that it condemned the attack in the strongest possible terms and called on the international community to enforce Israel's adherence to the 4th Geneva Convention with respect to its provisions.
What fucking international community? Where the fuck is it?
Mm-hmm.
Huh? Where the fuck is it?
It's supposed to have special protections for hospitals, medical personnel, journalists, and civilians in general. It's nice of the diocese to notice or to say something now. Okay, again, Dave says, according to Middle East Eye, the 4 slain journalists have been identified as Suleiman Hajjaj and photographer Ismail Badah, who both worked for Palestine Today TV. Photographer Samir Al-Rifai, who worked for Shams news agency, and the photojournalist and video editor Motaz Mohammed Rajab, who worked for Quds Al-Yum TV. I think I actually followed Motaz Rajab on Twitter. Sources told Middle East Eye that the strike hit the hospital courtyard while media workers were gathered there, and that no one had prior warning of the bombing, as was the intent. According to the Palestinian Journalists Syndicate, the massacre brings the total number of Palestinian journalists murdered by Israeli forces since October 2023 to 225. The PJS said in a statement that it condemned Israel's continued systematic policy of targeting and killing journalists and committing successive massacres against them and their families, unquote. Another strongly worded letter, but they don't have bombs to fight back. I mean, what are they supposed to do? They're running for their lives. But I didn't just have one fuck Israel war crime story this week from Gaza. There's another one also from Beirut, and this is another anti-war story, Indie Media Award honoree. But this one was from Jason Ditz, who I am not familiar with. So let's tear into this one. Israel pounds southern Beirut following an evacuation order. Oh, at least they gave an order and told everyone to get out because we're going to bomb the shit out of this place. Although it's a residential neighborhood and they have no reason or right to bomb a sovereign country, Lebanon's capital city of Beirut is in shock tonight when massive explosions tore through the civilian neighborhood of Dahiyeh in the city's south as the result of a major Israeli attack. This is the first attack on Beirut in over a month. Okay, let's go back here. Israel issued an evacuation order in the evening, claiming that Hezbollah had an underground factory in the city. The attack came a few hours later after sunset, of course, while everybody's in their homes and asleep. Maximum people in there. Information is still coming in about what happened, but reportedly 8 buildings were hit in the targeted neighborhood, and later reports that there were more than a dozen strikes. It's not clear whether those are the same buildings that were cited in the evacuation warning. And since Israel was targeting an underground site, it's not even clear what the surface buildings were even the target in the first place. The secret tunnels, right? More secret tunnels.
Yay, secret tunnels.
Adding
spell things right.
Adding
secret tunnel.
Secret tunnel.
Yeah, secret tunnel.
Adding to the questions which have yet to be answered are reports that Lebanese army forces entered the buildings identified by Israel before the strike, probably to make sure that their citizens were out and weren't going to be killed. It's neither clear if the army was present when the strikes began or whether those buildings ended up being hit at all. But it could potentially add to the seriousness of the matter. There are still no confirmations of casualties, which is weird. People reported that there were substantial traffic jams in Dahiyeh as everyone moved to try to evacuate before the strike, naturally. It may well reduce the likelihood of civilian casualties, though again, we don't yet have word of what hit the buildings or what the hit buildings were, or whether anyone was left within them. Israel claimed the existence of the alleged underground site was a ceasefire violation, but it has yet to be established that there actually was such a site there. Trust me, bro. And moreover, it's not clear from the terms of the ceasefire that Hezbollah wouldn't have been allowed to have an underground facility in Beirut, which is far north of the Litani River boundary that they're supposed to be removed from. Defense Minister Defense Minister Israel Katz said that Israel would not allow anyone to create threats to Israel. That's nice and vague.
Whatever.
Though Hezbollah has not actually attacked Israeli territory a single time since the ceasefire went into effect in November, so the timing of this attack is odd to say the least, or maybe not so much at all. Adding to the timing...
Congratulations, Israel.
Congratulations on being the world's biggest bitch.
Yeah. Well, they're also the world's biggest douche. All right.
Yes.
So that's a pretty good accomplishment there to be both. Adding to the timing is the question that the attack came roughly around sunset, meaning the important religious feast of Eid al-Adha had just begun. Thursday marked the Yom Arafah, a very important holiday where Muslims who do not go to Mecca that year generally fast. All right. Sunset marks the end of the fast and the beginning of the feast. An Israeli strike roughly coincided with that because, God forbid, any of them are allowed to eat ever. They want to starve all of the Muslim population, apparently. But not just the Muslims, because remember, Al-Ahli Hospital is a Christian hospital.
Yep.
Though Hezbollah's violation of the ceasefire here is still up for dispute, Israel plainly isn't. And multiple Lebanese leaders issued statements condemning Israel's attack on the capital as a particularly flagrant violation. Israel has carried out thousands of attacks on Lebanese soil since the ceasefire went into effect, but attacking Beirut has been comparatively unusual. But all of them are still war crimes. Attacking a sovereign nation because you claimed that they were attacking you first, and then permanently setting up occupation in the southern half of that country is also a war crime. Yep. But what else is going to happen to them? Now, all right, I'm going to give a little bit of a warning here because this is a really graphic thing. And if you get triggered, by all means, I understand. Come back in a few minutes because this one's, oh boy. Mahmoud, who is the founder and editor-in-chief over at Mint Press News, Indie Media Award honoree, had a guest on an American nurse on her podcast this week, Mintcast, who described how he seen that Israeli soldiers are deliberately shooting boys in the penis. The IDF are shooting Palestinian boys in the junk so they will never be able to have children. They're neutering.
Are you fucking kidding me?
They're neutering a population. They are sterilizing the population to ensure that they cannot reproduce. But no genocide is happening, right? This isn't systematic ethnic cleansing, right? I can't even play this, but she says the scenes Willie Massey witnessed in Gaza were harrowing. Children shot multiple times in the head, chest, and groin. Hospitals reduced to rubble. The smell of burning flesh and gunpowder lingering in the air. For the American ICU nurse recently returned from the besieged enclave, and thank God he's able to get back. Israel's assault on Gaza was not just war, it was deliberate, systematic extermination, which we've been saying from minute one. There you go. Now you can read these words a whole lot clearer. Massey had been on the front lines of the Israeli attack on the densely populated strip. Oh man, these people that stand on the front lines in order to patch up Palestinians that have been shot at and wounded. Just wow. Incredible people. So he's worked in Al-Aqsa, Nasser, and Indonesia hospitals, by the way, all of which have been bombed multiple times by Israel. He sat down.
Speaking of, where the fuck is Dr. Hossam? Where's he at?
Dr. Hossam Abu Shafir. That would be nice to know. He sat down with Manar Adley to discuss his time in Palestine and the brutal realities of the assault, the Israeli assault. This is part 2 of that interview. He and other health professionals from all over the world risk their lives to save as many people as possible. These actions have made them a target. Israel's killed more than 1,400 healthcare workers. I remember they used to screech about 1,200 people killed on October 7th. What about the 1,400 healthcare workers they've murdered since October 7th? Every one of which is a war crime. IDF attacks have destroyed or damaged 33 of Gaza's 36 hospitals. It's an atrocity that humanity should never forget. Worse still, he noted, is that Israel blocks medical supplies from reaching the area, meaning that he and his colleagues must work even without basic instruments and drugs, anesthesia, penicillin,
anesthesia,
rubbing alcohol. Like, they want infection to spread.
Iodine.
They want. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
We don't have gauze. We don't have anesthesia. We don't have antibiotics. No water. No electricity.
I think I heard they didn't even have bleach.
Yep.
Like,
Israel, before every strike, cuts off electricity. They're going to bomb you while you're in the dark, of course. Massey explained how this lack of electricity means life-saving machines are shut off, causing mass deaths. Ventilators, for example, stop working unless they have backup generators, and then they target the generators. And so he and his colleagues must bag patients, a process of connecting their respiratory systems to plastic bags which have to be pumped by hand day and night to keep oxygen flowing into these people's bodies. And as they pump, Israeli bombs fall on the hospital and bullets penetrate its walls. Oh, man, fuck Israel. These bombs are supplied by the United States, often at U.S. taxpayer expense, who footed the bill for more than $22 billion of aid to Tel Aviv since October 7th of 2023, making Washington an active participant in the destruction and extermination. Despite its rhetoric about slashing budgets, the Trump administration has shown few signs of limiting the aid flowing to Israel, even as international organizations label the campaign a genocide and call for boycotts and sanctions against Israel. Massey also chronicles a war against the children of Palestine. We've talked about this many times, noting how girls are dying of urinary tract infections because of the shortage of sanitary products, even tampons. Israeli soldiers, meanwhile, deliberately shoot boys in the junk in order to prevent them from ever being able to have children of their own. These are the stories you're not supposed to hear, which is why you're hearing them here. Because I don't give a fuck. These stories are going to get told here. These motherfuckers. And then they turn around and say that the Palestinian people are animals when they behave like that, committing deliberate war crimes on the regular. And again, the toughs. Again, just as a reminder that Israel has boarded and seized a humanitarian ship of British flagship. So now Great Britain either has to have given permission for them to seize the people aboard it and stop it, or they have now committed a violation of international law that Britain now must respond to for having Israel stop and board one of their ships without permission? Holy shit, that's an act of war, isn't it? Last I remember it was. All right, and again, just remember who the IDF is mostly firing on at this point. It's women and children. There are at most 30,000 Hamas, admittedly, according to the IDF. That's after 2.5 years, 20 months of dropping bombs on them, where they originally claimed that there were only 20,000 Hamas fighters. So somehow they've murdered or kidnapped or arrested most of the men there. And somehow there are 10,000 more Hamas fighters than there were. The maths don't math there, by the way. The maths ain't mathing.
What's up with that? What's up with that?
All right. I cannot say fuck Israel enough. Oh, wait, where's the other freaking story that I had, Gen X Girl had, that was incredible? All right, about, and I guess I'll bring it next week, about the Jewish Zionist terrorist that tried to firebomb the U.S. embassy in Tel Aviv, in Israel, because he has a grudge with Donald Trump. All right, that's a crazy fucking story that the media is burying because it doesn't fit the narrative. All right, it doesn't fit that someone to Trump's right, all right, someone who thinks that Trump isn't supporting Israel hard enough wants to punish the United States for not supporting it. He moved from Boulder, Colorado. Did something else happen in Boulder, Colorado in the last week or so? I don't remember. Was it like some kind of a quote unquote attack or a psyop of some kind? Yeah, I seem to recall that something did happen over there. Now, this guy happens to have been from Boulder, and he claims that his family owns one of the largest hotel chains in the country that competes with Trump, and that Trump has made his life miserable. He's now moved to Israel, and he's completely bought into, now it's his home and his country. This is an American Jewish Zionist who, again, the right of return, and we talked about the right of return in the past. Remember that Palestinians have no passport and have no rights to any land or anything at all when it comes to Israel or Palestine, according to Israel. However, an American Jew can get on a plane, fly to Israel, and be handed a parcel of land as part of what's up with that? Yes, as part
Jewish
of
rapscallion.
birthright, quote unquote. Although I renounce my birthright. I don't want it. Give it to a Palestinian person. But they won't do that, of course. That's not part of the rules. Just like when they were selling off the properties for the Gaza waterfront in Toronto and in Teaneck, New Jersey, and in Los Angeles suburbs, they were not allowing anyone to purchase it on behalf of a Palestinian family. How nice. They created those rules too. Again, fuck Israel. So we're not going to be remonetized for segments like that. And if you are able to, and you do like the media and you want to support the media that you want to see, and that's us, you can drop us a couple of bucks over at Cash App, $ Indie News Network, $5-10. You can give us $5 or $10 over at ko-fi.com/Indie News Network, or any amount. You can go to paypal.me/Indie News Network, any amount that you want there. You can also go to INNnewsletter.com. That's where our daily and weekly newsletters go out, as well as some of the podcasts for the individual shows after we stream them live on Substack, which, by the way, we are live on Substack. Good evening, Substack. If you're watching and hanging out, thank you for hanging out.
Newsletter near you.
I did have the chat open at one point. I don't know what happened to it, but all right.
Sorry, but Rachel Maddow's death will just have to come as a pleasant surprise to me.
It would be. Well, I'm not gonna in a video game, right? In a video game. All right. So, good evening to our Substack fam. Good evening over on Odyssey. We're live on Odyssey. I see that Raw Meat Herd is over there. So good to see you over there, fam. I saw Lone Star checking in earlier. We got Ghost Start and Possum Kings over on Rumble. We've got people hanging out and chatting over on YouTube. We got people over on Kick as well. Kick.com/Indie News Network. That's another place that we stream live. We are live to 8 platforms on Sunday nights. Support independent media. We need it more than ever. Love you.
Bye-bye!
We got out of here.
No! We just fucking lost the stream.
Can't keep giving us nothing and think we're bluffing about coming for your heads. Why play civil if you won't listen to 50,000 dead? And now we know our mission, we form a militia, make Congress a prison.
Who are these people?
Now, first of all, let's get to Israel. If your side, this is a tip, if your side is intentionally shooting journalists, you're the bad guys. Yeah, that's that should go without saying, but somehow it doesn't. But yes, that's our first. That's where we're going to start. In advance of their sneak attack on Iran, Israel also knocked out complete internet to Gaza. And I brought a tweet from a doctor who has been treating patients there. And he says there's no internet, no signal, no sound, no world beyond this cage. I walked 30 minutes through ruins and dust, not in search of escape, but for a fragment of a signal, just enough to whisper, we are still alive. Not because anyone's listening, but because to die unheard is the final death. I think YouTube's trying to do that to all of us. Gaza is silent now. Not with peace, but with obliteration. not in a silence of stillness, but of smothering. They severed the last cable. No messages leave, no images enter. Every grief, even grief, has been forbidden. I passed the corpses of buildings, of homes, of men, some breathing, some not. All of them erased by the same hand that erased our voices. This is not a siege of bombs alone, it's a siege of memory. A war against our ability to say we were here. The bombing never stopped, especially in Jabalia. They shell the streets where children beg for food. They shell the lines where mothers wait for flour. They shell hunger itself. No water, no food, no exit. And those who try, those who reach for aid are struck down. People die here, and no one knows. Not because the killing paused, but because the killing of connection succeeded. The internet was our final breath. It wasn't a luxury. It was the last evidence of our humanity, and now it's gone. And in the dark, they massacre without consequence. I found this faint eSIM signal as a dying man finds a flicker of flame. I stood beneath a broken sky, risking death, not for rescue, but to send this. A single message, a last resistance. If you're reading this, remember, we walked through fire to say it. We were not silent. We were silenced. And when the cables are restored, the truth will bleed through the wires, and the world will know what it chose not to see. And what was deliberately hidden from it. It's not what it necessarily even chose not to see. It's what Israel ensured they did not see. It's just awful. Again, fuck Zionists, and not just, refast. What do you say when fuck Israel isn't enough? And my answer is fuck Zionists, because Zionists are much more than Israel. Except it's not, because they're much more than Israel.
It is. It's the same thing.
It's kind of
There's no difference.
Okay. Because they're not.
Zero difference.
They're not.
And my whole point of the question is that, saying something isn't enough. So, also terrible answer.
Well, I think that they
take that.
They met what would happen if they fucked around, and they would find out. And they certainly have found out for the last couple of days. Now, this guy, funny enough, Guy Christensen, all right, who apparently has now been expelled from Ohio State University for being pro-Palestine, and insane that they did this. All right. But he says, I'm just appalled at the lack of coverage on Israel's final solution for Gaza. They're taking it over entirely, concentrating Palestinians into camps, and then will ethnically cleanse them out. It's named Operation Gideon's Chariots. And I believe that was covered on INN News recently as well. But Guy is unafraid, and he had Zionists try to appeal to his parents and dox him in that way, and dox his parents and get his dad fired. We covered that a couple of weeks ago, and he's still standing up strong. So all the credit to that kid. And then I wanted to mention that as of yesterday afternoon, internet is back in the entire Gaza Strip. So please support us. And so they didn't just fully knock out internet, although they did that while starving out and continuously shooting at the people going for aid. The Gaza Health, the fake organization of NGOs that set up to distribute food, they basically have now run away and said that it's impossible for them to do so. And it's not just because Israel's made it impossible, it's because they don't want to do it. And the ruse is over now. They accomplished what they wanted, which was to make it look like they tried. So that was the beginning of our Fuck Israel segment, just about what they're doing in the Gaza Strip. If you're able to, I'm going to break there and thank all of these incredible supporters with our Wall of Fame from Indie News Network. If you're watching for the first time over on Substack, welcome. Thank you so much for checking this out. These are the incredible people that support our network. We are totally user-funded. We don't take sponsorships. We don't do ad reads. And again, all we have is you. These are the incredible people that have done that already. The ways to support our network are Cash App, $ Indie News Network, ko-fi.com/Indie News Network, paypal.me/Indie News Network. And you can do it over at INNnewsletter.com and IndieMediaToday.com over at Substack. And then we have our own self-host. Thank you.
Substack newsletter near you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I have to say that. So, and then Indie News Now is our self-hosted site. So you can go over there and go keep the news free. Click on that, and you can direct donate through our Stripe link there. I love you all. Keep independent media free and support independent media because we need it more than ever, fam. Thanks.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Israel. Mwah. Ciao, baby.
No! We just fucking lost the stream.
I guess this isn't such an awful place. Is that what you want me to say? You prove it's possible to sleep for days, and I still think you're right here awake. The cost of living isn't much to make, but God, it's so hard to say. And when they told you everything was safe, were you safe?
Who are these people?
We've got the unprovoked attack. Now, I decided I want to lean on Indie Media Award honoree Alan McLeod from Minpress News here for this one. That in the past 5 days, Israel has started a war with Iran, massacred starving Gazans waiting for food. They bombed Lebanon.
Yep.
They bombed Syria. They carried out a naval attack on the port of Yemen. I didn't even hear about that. And then they also kidnapped, quote unquote, the Greta Thunberg and then sent her back to Sweden, and nothing happened to her. And she became a celebrity darling. And I don't even really want to necessarily talk about the flotilla, except that it seems that the people that were on it, for the most part, got the celebrity treatment while nothing fundamentally changed. And they tried to make a statement, which we all knew, which was that Israel was going to block any aid that was going in, that it was going to be woefully insufficient. And I believe Tiago Avila is still sitting in an Israeli prison right now because he wouldn't sign anything. If I'm correct, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but...
How dare you?
What about the other lady? Isn't she also there? Still?
No.
She
did not sign, but they deported her to France. She was a member of the European Parliament. Gotcha. I believe she was a delegation from European Parliament to France. So that's what Alan had to say. But Sam Husseini actually shared Fiorella's video, 9 seconds, about smoke now in Tehran as Israel went and struck the capital. This after Israel struck Lebanon. Okay, we wait for the West, of course, to blame Iran like they always do, right?
Yeah.
You can see the smoke.
Yep.
Sam Husseini points out that last September, as Netanyahu was at the UN and isolated, he ordered the assassination of Nasrallah. Today, the UN voted with 149 yes to demand Israel abide by international law, so it bombed Iran. This is how Israel responds to international law and decency. Oh, okay. Jimmy, thank you for letting me know that Tiago is actually free. Good to know that they only held him prisoner and threatened him with solitary confinement. But thank you for letting me know, because I didn't see that. I wanted to bring an article from another Indie Media Award honoree who you don't see very much, but he's been more active lately. Gordon Dimmack, friend of the show. Reef and I did an interview with him on INN News, about a year and a half ago already. And he was on AM Wake Up pretty recently. You can check that out with Pasta and Steve on an episode of AM Wake Up about a month and a half or 2 months ago. That was really good. But he wrote an article the other day about how Trump and Iran are nukes, the path to peace in the Middle East. Right, he's updated this several times already. So he says yesterday morning, the IAEA announced that Iran appears to be enriching uranium at previously undeclared facilities. If true, it would mark the first time in 20 years that they've done this, which would potentially be a breach of the nuclear deal. Cue the headlines. Iran's on the path to a nuclear weapon. We've all heard this before, right? I remember hearing Israeli leaders warning about an Iranian bomb back in the early 80s. We, again, talked about this about 6 weeks ago, all the times that Bibi's cried wolf. Every few years, there's another alarm bell, another prediction, and yet no bomb. So why am I talking about it now? Well, timing is everything. And for Netanyahu, timing is survival. As soon as the war in Gaza ends, his political shield vanishes. He's facing corruption charges. He knows it. Everyone knows it. If this war stops, he's either out of office or on trial or both. His only way forward is to keep the war going. And now we know how he plans to do it, escalate to war with Iran. So he says yesterday, just before Netanyahu ordered airstrikes on Iran, Iran had begun releasing documents that it claims to have hacked from Israeli nuclear research centers, which potentially including the material leaked to the Sorek facility. While the IAEA has yet to authenticate the files, the timing is impossible to ignore. These leaks suggest that Israel's undeclared nuclear arsenal and the double standards surrounding it are finally being dragged out into the open. And there's a link in his article to the alleged documents, and I believe Fiorella also tweeted them out. There's four images. It also raises serious questions about the IAEA's role. It's worth remembering that Israel has never signed the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty and isn't subject to full inspections. But Iran is. So that means that the IAEA can publicly condemn Iran, but not Israel, even though Israel is the only nuclear-armed state in the region. Huh. That's not oversight. It's a loophole by design.
Nope.
If Netanyahu can launch airstrikes and then point to the IAEA report as justification, was the report a neutral finding, or was it a pretext prepared for a war already in motion? The IAEA's silence on Israel's own stockpile only reinforces the suspicion that this isn't impartial monitoring, but nuclear policing written in Tel Aviv. Overnight, Israel finally launched the airstrikes on Iranian territory that had been warned of for days. Netanyahu, that guy, confirmed that they were a direct response to the IAEA report accusing Iran of breaching nuclear protocol. Huh. So they're allowed to bomb people as a response to a report? Iran responded by launching over 100 drones, which was likely just the first wave. The U.S. says it wasn't involved. Of course it wasn't. It was just their planes, their weapons, their regional radar systems. Reports from multiple sources suggest that both U.S. and U.K. warplanes were scrambled to shoot down Iranian drones. So, what was that? Hit that again?
Wasn't me.
So while Washington denies pulling the trigger, Israel clearly knew that they'd be shielded. It wasn't me. This was never going to be a fair fight. And now we're learning that the strikes may have killed and did kill several senior IRGC officials. If confirmed, that alone could provoke a sustained Iranian retaliation. The market certainly believed it because Brent crude oil spiked dramatically after the strikes, jumping from $70 to over $78 a barrel in hours. That's not good. That means I hope everybody filled up their tanks this weekend. But the story didn't begin with missiles. It started with leaks. Iran claims to have hacked and acquired Israeli nuclear documents, threatening to release them. The authenticity, still being verified, but they're being posted and the symbolism is clear. Iran is calling Israel's nuclear bluff, and now the bombs are falling. So where does it go from here? Again, we're reading an article for those who are just joining by Indie Media Award honoree Gordon Dimmack about the assessment from the other day about what happened through Friday. Iran has long warned that it could target oil infrastructure in the Gulf. And if that happens, we're not just looking at war, we're looking at a global economic crisis. And while all eyes are fixed on Iran, let's not forget Israel cut Gaza's internet just before the strikes began. Also timing. We're now seeing images of entire Gaza districts on fire. No coverage, no live feeds, no accountability. What else has happened there while the world looked away and the lights were turned off? Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump has issued his own threat to Iran. Make a deal or there will be nothing left. And even more brutal attacks are planned if Iran doesn't agree. It sounds a lot like a mob boss who quotes one message: this isn't negotiation, it's nuclear blackmail. Trump's trying to make him an offer he can't refuse. This is mafia politics. Drones and diplomacy hand in hand. Israel bombs, Trump threatens, and Iran is told to crawl to the table in Qatar this weekend and sign. According to Axios, 2 Israeli officials claim Trump was only pretending to oppose Israeli strikes on Iran in public. Behind the scenes, they say he was fully aligned. It wasn't opposition. It was theater. Go figure from an Emmy Award-winning WWE Hall of Fame heel. Huh. No way.
Yep.
Trump's newly appointed U.S. ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, said that he had to take shelter 5 times during the overnight Iranian response. And yet, earlier this week, Huckabee declared that the U.S. no longer supports a Palestinian state as a policy objective, suggesting instead that it could be created somewhere else in the Middle East. Why wasn't that story reported on at all? The U.S. ambassador to Israel said, we do not believe in a 2-state solution. We believe in a 1-state, Israel-led only solution. What? And nobody said a word.
But then also taking someone else's land to give to the Palestinians. It's just a cycle of bullshit. And that's going to be Egypt.
We know this. But there's no plan.
Yeah.
We covered that a year plus ago. There is no plan for the Palestinian people. Their plan is to wipe them out completely and drive them into the sea.
Which is why every Zionist, like, for months and months was like, well, why won't any other Arab countries take them?
Right.
Yeah, we know
There's
why.
There's 23 other Muslim countries. Yes, but it's not their land. And if they do take them in, that's acknowledging and basically consenting that it's okay that the U.S. and Israel stole that land.
And how many of those Muslim countries is Israel trying to take?
Yep.
You know? Like,
part of Syria, part of Lebanon. Eventually, the Greater Israel Project includes part of Saudi Arabia, all of Jordan, part of Egypt, and part of Iraq.
If they decide it stops there, which I doubt it. You know? I think world domination, Pinky. Right. At this point.
I don't think so. I think that they want to restore that. And once they get there, maybe then whoever genocidal lunatic is running it then will decide that they want more than that, maybe. But right now, the patch is on the fucking uniforms. That's what they want. That's their plan. And they'll stop there for now. All right. Open Secrets data shows that pro-Israel donors gave thousands to Huckabee during his presidential runs, and his own Huck PAC, Jesus Christ, hauled in $11 million in 2024. All right. Yeah, it might as well be Hawk 2 with the way that it's just spitting and blowing Israel. Funneled into Republicans tied to Israel's agenda. It's another way to funnel Israel money through an American and toward Congress people and buy off that agenda. This isn't mere diplomacy. It's a network of political influence reinforcing U.S.-Israel policy coordination at every turn. And there's a fucking ambassador who also, again, ran for president and somehow was still allowed to have a PAC? Wow. There's no laws anymore, and there's no cops on the beat or anyone to prosecute any of this shit. They're trying, but it's getting thrown out. You got Trump-friendly judges. It's a crazy fucking time. All right? So much for Trump being anti-war and putting a stop to those stupid wars in the Middle East, eh, MAGA? Right? With all this in mind, I have to ask an uncomfortable question. Are nukes the path to peace in the Middle East? Mutually assured destruction is what he's talking about. Fiorella had a post about that today. Right now, it looks like the only way to survive is to have them. If you don't, you get bombed, blackmailed, and blockaded. If you do, suddenly the world listens. Although I don't think that anybody's really listening in North Korea. So I kind of disagree there. Although we don't know. There's no way in hell that any of this would happen if these countries knew Iran had nuclear weapons. Israel has them, though, allegedly. But yes, they do. And that nuclear arsenal is what gives them the power to dominate the region, along with the support of Western powers. It's the support of Western powers that really gives them that power. This has allowed Israel to commit heinous crimes on the Palestinians and bomb its neighbors with almost impunity in ways that future generations will study as one of the darkest periods in history. If peace is ever going to be possible in the Middle East, it can't be built on mafia threats and nuclear hypocrisy. It has to start with justice, with equal rules, with human rights that apply to everyone. Israeli, Iranian, and Palestinian alike. Until then, this doesn't look like peace. It looks like war. And damn, that's a good one by our brother Gordon. And I have a bunch more here. First of all, so we know that there was a sneak attack or an attack, an unprovoked attack of Iran and Tehran by Israel, in which they murdered IRGC top generals. And according to Matt Kennard, Netanyahu's presidential plane Wing of Zion took off from Tel Aviv that morning at 11:22 local time, and then landed in Athens, Greece. So he launched strikes against Iran and then ran the fuck away because he knew that the bombs were going to start flying back at Israel. Pussy. Right? This is the path, the flight path of the plane. Shout out to Matt Kennard. Again, another Indie Media Award honoree from both Declassified and on his own as a journalist. I mean, awesome stuff. So my question here, and I quote tweeted that and say, why would Netanyahu flee Israel after launching attacks on Israel? What a coward. When will he be arrested for war crimes? He ordered another unprovoked attack on a sovereign country after warning everyone he was going to do it. What's it going to take? That's the third one. He's attacked Syria, unprovoked. He attacked Lebanon, unprovoked. You can call Hezbollah provocation, but Hezbollah did not bomb Israel. All right? And now he's doing it to Iran. But Iran fucked around. Okay, so this is a Zay Squirrel thread that I thought was really good. So I decided to bring this one too. Israel has decided to assassinate Iran's supreme leader Ali Khamenei to try to cause total state collapse. Unless Iran establishes deterrence in the very short term by striking both Israeli and U.S. assets in the region and eliminating top figures in the Israeli regime, they will proceed. The U.S. and Israel did not launch this war to try to eliminate the nuclear sites. They know they can't. They're too well protected and dispersed, and any damage can be reconstituted in the short term. They launched it to cause total state collapse in Iran, beginning in phases. The first phase was to eliminate the top military and IRGC leaders while also going after scientists and mass killing civilians in the process. They did the same thing in Lebanon, by the way. This would create the false impression that they're still somewhat restrained and focused only on military and nuclear targets. Even though the first casualty was a child in Tehran. That's weird. Okay, better. After taking what they expect to be a similarly constrained response from Iran, they will see that as confirmation that Iran will not adhere to its own stated red lines and is still afraid of meeting Israel at the same level of escalation. This is their calculation. That is their green light then to proceed to the next phase, which is to target and kill top political leaders, including Khomeini. Their hope isn't to replace the current government and state with some rehash of the monarchist, Zionist, fascist through his failed son. They know there is no base of support for that inside the country. Their hope is to do another Libya and Syria, unleash proxy forces that they fund and arm together with the Gulf Arab Shield puppet regimes and NATO, Erdogan, and turn it into a spiral of death and chaos, a concocted civil war, quote unquote, where Iranians are paid and armed by the CIA and Mossad to kill Iranians. That's what's happening in Syria right now with Jalani.
Yeah.
The MEK and other such proxy forces have already been trained and prepared and are ready to be activated. They'll begin with car bombings and terrorist attacks, mass killing civilians. Quote-unquote ISIS will reappear again and do its typical job for their CIA Mossad masters. Please notice that ISIS doesn't attack Western targets, they attack Muslims. The U.S. and Israel decided to launch this war before Trump was elected, and it has the full and total support of the entire U.S. military, intelligence, industrial complex, and the media and political class, both Republicans and Democrats. And it would have also happened if Kamala Harris won the election. And she's got receipts about that too.
Yep.
They see Iran and the axis of resistance and its allies with Russia and China as the main obstacle to full and total Zionist, U.S., NATO, Israeli imperial hegemony in the region, and by extension, the world, as they twist their mustaches. And they want to destroy it, as it is the only one that, unlike Russia and China, does not have a nuclear deterrent, and they want to get to it before it obtains it. This is an existential war of survival, not just for the Iranian state, but for Iran as a nation. If this project succeeds, the country will be balkanized, ethnic divisions will be stirred by foreign actors, CIA and Mossad and the Gulf puppets will fund and arm dozens of proxy death and rape squads roaming their fiefdoms. Tens of millions of lives will be destroyed. Everything must be done to prevent this. Iran has the weapons to do so. It has the capacity to do so. It's only a question of will. Does it have the will to do what it takes to prevent the mass destruction of their own people and nation? Squirrel certainly hopes it does. We must all hope it does. Saeed Mohammed Morandi was out there saying, look, these were all the old missiles that they sent, and they did the damage that they did.
Mm-hmm.
If they send the new stuff, boy.
So David Miller says this is completely correct. The Islamic Republic must urgently learn from events in Lebanon and Syria. Any missile silos and other weapons that are not used in the coming days will be destroyed. Miller says, use it or lose it.
Right. Continuing, the squirrel says all of this goes back to the assassination of Nasrallah. As Sam Husseini had mentioned earlier, Israel had the ability to assassinate him whenever it wanted. That's not the question. Iran can assassinate Netanyahu if it wants. Ukraine can assassinate Putin. Putin can assassinate Zelensky. Assassinations are not the problem. Every state with a barely competent intelligence has the capacity to assassinate anyone. It's a question of deterrence. The reason Israel did not assassinate Nasrallah is because, as Gallant later came out and admitted, because they were deathly afraid of the response by Hezbollah and Iran. They thought it would lead to such a significant response, not just in terms of a missile strike on Israeli territory hitting military infrastructure, but assassinations of top Israeli officials, that they didn't go ahead with it. Then slowly but surely, the deterrence that Iran had established was broken down. Let's look at the timeline. Last April 1st, Israel attacks Iran's embassy, killing many. On the 13th of April, Iran responds with Operation True Promise 1, a symbolic pre-signaled strike. No deaths, just some limited material damage. May 19th, Israel kills Iran's president, Ibrahim Raisi, and the foreign minister, Amir Abdullahian. God, terrible. Iran responds by covering it up and going along with the lie that it was just an accident so it could avoid having to retaliate at all. Israeli officials were openly gloating about these killings, and it's an open secret in intel circles that they were assassinated. July 30th, Israel kills top Hezbollah military official, Fuad Shakur. July 31st, Israel kills Hamas leader Haniyeh and does it in Tehran itself. Iran then vowed they would retaliate, but Genocide Joe and Blinken began the fake diplomacy propaganda that Trump and Witkoff also initiated ahead of the current war, saying they would get a permanent ceasefire in Gaza as long as they didn't retaliate. 17th, 18th of September last year, Israel does its terrorist pager attack in Lebanon, killing and blinding many, including toddlers, children, and hospital workers. Already before this, they'd already begun bombing Beirut, which Hezbollah and Nasrallah said was a red line. Israel saw all of this as confirmation, all right, that there would be no retaliation by Iran and Hezbollah of the same kind, meaning the direct targeting and mass killing of top Israeli officials and any human shields who they happen to be hiding amongst at the time. Because if Israel doesn't give a fuck, why should Iran? Apparently they did. This was the green light to go ahead with the assassination of Nasrallah on September 27th. Now, the answer of why not is because the U.S. would also then come down on Iran. By that point, it was already too late. All of Iran and the broader axis of resistance's deterrence capacity had already been totally shattered. They kept saying in words, "We will strike you at least as hard as you struck us, if not harder." Then they kept not following through on their own stated red lines. Right. Nasrallah's assassination was when the U.S. and Israel knew that the war on Iran they had already wanted to launch all along was now ready to go in the short term within a year. Iran then did retaliate to all this on October 1st, Operation True Promise 2, which actually did do some significant damage, although the Western media class deliberately lies about this, but it was limited to military infrastructure. It didn't meet the same level of the Israeli attacks, not even close. No top Israeli officials were eliminated, no targeted assassinations, no human shields that they were hiding amongst were taken out. All deterrence was completely lost at this point. So, mutually assured destruction was a thing in the 60s that kept us from allegedly going to war with Russia. The mutually assured destruction disappeared. Just think of it from the U.S.-Israeli perspective. You killed Nasrallah, the main leader of the Axis of Resistance, alongside Khomeini himself, and the only cost you had to bear was some material damage. And not even to U.S., to Israeli stuff. Why would they happily not take that exchange? Of course they would. They love that exchange ratio. They would take that deal any day. It's like the perfect gift to them. And now they're coming in for the final kill. With the exact same standard they've been applying all this time, beginning with the assassination of top military and IRGC officials and scientists and any civilians who may be around them, taking hits that consist primarily of material damage, which they love. That's a perfect exchange for them because it allows them to spend money to rebuild it on their defense contractors. Then they move on to the next phase, murdering the supreme leader of Iran and the axis of resistance itself. The only way to stop this now is to break this cycle. And the only way this can be done is by hitting them and doing minimally the same damage to them that was done by them, and ideally going beyond that, in fact, far beyond that. You have to look completely insane and unpredictable. You have to come over as totally irrational, capable of destroying the entire region if necessary. In other words, you have to make them fear you, just as the genocidal Israeli death cult and U.S. have done for themselves. First, eliminate, this is not my idea. This is the Zay Squirrel writing this. Do not take our channel down for doing this. I am reading somebody's plan on how Iran would retaliate materially so that they actually would challenge what Israel is doing. First, eliminate top Israeli military and political officials. Any human shields they're hiding amongst with them. It's not a matter of being able to. Of course, Iran is able to. It's a question of will. Second, target U.S. and military assets everywhere in the region. And not just infrastructure, not just buildings. It can't just be buildings. Third, close the Strait of Hormuz and begin striking oil fields in the Arab Shield Gulf puppet regimes. All of this.
That's a tough bit.
Well, they've got to attack Qatar. All of this has to be done.
And Saudis and UAE and
all this has to be done, and then the scale can be increased if deterrence has not yet been established and the war continues. This is the only way that Zay Squirrel sees to bring the genocidal Israeli and U.S. death cults to bring them to heel, and tens of millions of lives can be saved. Maybe with hypersonic missiles.
Hypersonic. Did you see that? Oh my God.
If that's even a hypersonic, allegedly, that was still just a ballistic missile, but one of the newer ones.
Holy shit, it was moving quick.
Yep, that flew it. Boom. And
all those in league with imperialism.
It made a
bureaucrats.
It made a massive damage.
The reactionary section of the intelligentsia attached to them.
Right? And of course, Iran should immediately proceed with acquiring a nuclear weapon, as John Mearsheimer says. I'll play the clip below. As soon as they've done that, instant deterrence is established, and the U.S. and Israel will halt their project of collapsing the Iranian state and destroying the Iranian nation. The propaganda on all this is actually insane. Think of what the reaction would be if any other state bombed the US, UK, France, Germany, and eliminated the heads of their military forces and scientists, along with many civilians. The Western media and political class is treating this like just some totally normal, average, everyday thing. Yeah, that's fine. What are you so upset for? Totally normal. Okay, fine. Do a few missile hits on buildings again, but that's it. Nothing beyond that. That would be clearly insanely provocative. By the way, they're not even saying that. They're not even hysterically denouncing the strikes on the military infrastructure beyond the pale. Israel has the right to defend itself. It's absolutely fucking insane. Just do the simple test. What would the U.S. do if the exact same thing was done to them by Russia or China? What would the UK, France, Germany do? The U.S. and Israel launched an all-out total war on Iran. Anyone who's downplaying this fact is deliberately lying. They're deliberately fabricating propaganda to launder the war and further it and ensure it leads to what I said it will if Iran does not take the appropriate response immediately. And here's the Mearsheimer clip. I'll play a little bit of this.
I think there's no question that a nuclear-armed Iran would bring stability to the region because nuclear weapons are weapons of peace. their weapons of deterrence. They have hardly any offensive capability at all. And if Iran had a nuclear deterrent, there's no way that the United States or Israel, for that matter, would be threatening to attack Iran now. In the same way that if Saddam had had nuclear weapons in 2003, the United States would not have invaded Iraq. And if Libya had nuclear weapons in 2011, the United States would not have gone to war against Libya. So I think that if you had a Middle East where other states besides Israel, and this of course includes Iran, had a nuclear deterrent, it would be a more peaceful region. Well, it's possible there'll be some proliferation. I wouldn't bet against the fact that maybe Turkey or Saudi Arabia would acquire nuclear weapons, but people have been predicting widespread proliferation for decades now, and it's never happened. But I think there are two reasons that it wouldn't happen. One is that the Iranians would not be able to blackmail anybody in the neighborhood with their nuclear weapons. We've created this myth in this country over the past few years in talking about Iran that any country that acquires nuclear weapons can blackmail other countries or use those nuclear weapons for offensive purposes. We have a lot of theory and a huge amount of empirical evidence, 67 years now, which show that no country with nuclear weapons can blackmail another country as long as somebody is protecting that country or it has its own nuclear weapons. And this leads to the second reason. The United States is going to extend its nuclear umbrella over Saudi Arabia and over Turkey, the way it extended it over Germany and Japan during the Cold War. And we will make it perfectly clear to the Iranians that they cannot blackmail anybody. So there'll be no great incentive for Turkey or for Saudi Arabia to acquire nuclear weapons.
And as you know, when you're involved in contact sports, it can be very dangerous. And so they live in a dangerous world. And on top of that, nuclear weapons are the ultimate deterrent, right? It doesn't get any better than nuclear weapons. And of course, this is why states pursue nuclear weapons. I believe that if Iran had nuclear weapons, the United States and Israel would not be threatening to attack Iran. You don't attack a country that has nuclear weapons and put its survival at risk. So I think if Iran were to get nuclear weapons, the United States and Israel would back off and stop threatening them. Then there's always the case of Libya. You remember Colonel Gaddafi? We told Colonel Gaddafi that if he gave up his nuclear weapons program, his weapons of mass destruction programs, that we would leave him alone. You know what happened to Colonel Gaddafi? He's now 6 feet under, and we helped put him 6 feet under. If I were Colonel Gaddafi, I would have developed nuclear weapons. North Korea?
What difference does it make?
We got him. North Korea is going to give up its nuclear weapons? I just don't understand the charade that we engage in where we're constantly acting as if North Korea is going to give up its nuclear weapons. They'd be nuts to give up their nuclear weapons. Oh, by the way, do you see any evidence the United States is giving up its nuclear weapons? Is Israel giving up its nuclear weapons? Is Britain giving up its nuclear weapons? Is India, Pakistan? Of course they're not. Why not? Because nuclear weapons are the ultimate deterrent. In the case of Israel, it's by far the most powerful military in the Middle East at the conventional level. Does it really need nuclear weapons? You could argue it doesn't, but they're not giving them up, nor is Uncle Sam. Uncle Sam is by far the most powerful state on the planet in terms of its conventional forces. It has never shown an iota of interest in giving up its nuclear weapons. In fact, it's going to modernize its nuclear deterrent. So all I'm saying here is there are really powerful incentives for a country living in a dangerous neighborhood that has the United States and Israel out there with their gun sights on you to get nuclear weapons.
Yep. Professor John
also,
Mearsheimer.
I love just the Zoom recording.
Yes.
I love just that.
He does Zoom calls.
You know?
And let's not forget
right.
that the UK is also complicit and guilty of war crimes in supporting all of this attacks on a sovereign country. Again, going back to Matt Kennard, who's been chasing the spy flights and other flights that support Israel out of RAF Akrotiri, okay, in Cyprus. That is a base that the UK holds that they use to refuel and run spy flights out of. But he said as of that was yesterday morning, 6:04 a.m., all right, Eastern. This morning at 8:51 a.m., Keir Starmer sent a UK military Voyager KC-3, that's a tanker, air-to-air refueling plane from the UK base on Cyprus. It flew over Lebanon, Israel, and Syria before turning off its transponder over Iraq. I wonder why it did that. Because it was flying in the direction of Iran, and it was in the sky at that moment. Huh. What?
Okay, so it's a air tanker?
And it's a refueler for other aircraft.
Yeah, right. That's my point.
Weird.
Was that this is for, but we don't see any other aircraft?
We don't, but we know that drones were sent. We know that all kinds of aircraft were sent. Again, we don't know.
I mean, the drones wouldn't need refueling.
No, they wouldn't.
This is for like
spy flights,
long range flying,
long range spy flights, and drone flights. Because not all the drones are attack drones. Some of them are recon drones that fly high up.
Yeah.
All right. That is this portion.
Do a barrel roll.
The sneak attack on Iran is this portion of the Fuck Israel segment that we had for tonight. So if you're able to, I'm going to break there and thank all of these incredible supporters with our Wall of Fame from Indie News Network. If you're watching for the first time over on Substack, welcome. Thank you so much for checking this out. These are the incredible people that support our network. We are totally user-funded. We don't take sponsorships. We don't do ad reads. And again, all we have is you. These are the incredible people that have done that already. The ways to support our network are Cash App, $ Indie News Network, ko-fi.com/Indie News Network, paypal.me/Indie News Network. And you can do it over at INNnewsletter.com and IndieMediaToday.com over at Substack. And then we have our own self-host. Thank you.
Substack newsletter near you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I have to say that. I love you all. Keep independent media free and support independent media because we need it more than ever, fam. Thanks.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Israel. Mwah. Ciao, baby.
No! We just fucking lost the stream.
I guess this isn't such an awful place. Is that what you want me to say? You prove it's possible to sleep for days, and I still think you're right here awake. The cost of living isn't much to make, but God, it's so hard to say. And when they told you everything was safe, were you safe?
Who are these people?
Anita Wood, thank you. A new monthly subscriber to INN newsletter. So all these people already have contributed and supported. The ways that you can do that if you're not already on that board, and we appreciate everyone that is and continue to be on that board and continue to support. Cash App, $ Indie News Network, ko-fi.com/Indie News Network, paypal.me/Indie News Network. And then we've got the Substacks, INNnewsletter.com, IndieMediaToday.com, and our self-hosted website that has a Stripe plugin at IndieNewsNow.com. And then you go to the Keep the Media Free, and you can hook up a monthly or one-time contribution over there. Hey, we also have got the British that are prosecuting their journalists and activists for speaking out and trying to change the narrative and change public opinion and get their lawmakers to go along with that public opinion about funding genocide and it being a war crime, and maybe even bringing up Keir Starmer on charges, which I'd love to see. Okay. But again, we go to our friend Laura at Normal Island News. Breaking, the British government has explained that terrorism now just means anything Israel doesn't like. Well, we've known that. And what do we mean? Well, I brought Ricky from Council of State Media. Laura and Ricky are all Indie Media Award honorees. We're only going to the best of the best tonight for this stuff. Splashing paint on a plane is terrorism, and killing 20,000 plus children is self-defense. Welcome to the upside-down world that we now live in. Ricky writes that if you support the efforts of Palestine Action to stop the Gaza genocide, you may as well say it now, because pretty soon those words are going to land you up to 14 years in prison. Just writing this article will probably get me put on a government watch list. He already is one. If I'm not somehow already on one, he's definitely on one for the wheelchair story alone about the NHS. Isn't it nice?
Right away.
Isn't it nice living in one of those Western democracies that have all the freedom? So much freedom. It seems Yvette Cooper has received her orders from Netanyahu because she's about to abuse her powers as Home Secretary in order to proscribe Palestine action. The Home Secretary has always just been a monstrous position. Back to the time that that Julian Assange has been in prison, and we had Priti Patel there. She was a mess too. This means that the group would officially be considered a terrorist organization, Palestine Action, right? And it would be illegal to not only be a member, but to express support for it. Yes, thought crime is a thing in the UK. Palestine Action upset the government when they broke into RAF Bryce Norton and splashed paint on 2 planes that the government insists have nothing to do with the conflict, only that's not true. One of these planes has the tail number ZZ338, and we know it was used to support airstrikes on Yemen in defense of Israel. We've got the flight logs.
Yep.
What is particularly galling here is that Sir Keir Starmer once defended someone who did what Palestine Action did. Of course he did, which is break into an RAF base to vandalize a plane. His change of position shows...
Pause.
Yes.
Like exactly?
Like exactly.
Like this exactly the same? What the fuck?
Stop! You violated the law.
Right?
What the fuck?
Yeah. Oh, QC Lewis and... Yep. Was the appellant. The judgment handed down the judgment of Smith Burnell Reporting Limited. So what this is from 2000 case 2004. Yep. July 21st, 2004. Apparently somebody broke into a base and did something to a plane. And here we go. At about 9:45 p.m. that day, the defendants were discovered together by a senior U.S. Air Force airman in the secure fuel installation complex inside the perimeter fence of RAF Fairford, which was at the time a 24-hour operational military base and NATO standby base, as well as being home to allied U.S. visiting forces. They were in possession of tools which had enabled them to enter the airbase, and which they had intended to cause damage to equipment to the airbase. By the time they were apprehended, they had damaged 3 refueling trucks, 2 munitions trailers, and their tractor units. They didn't just spray paint on it. When arrested, they both stated that it was their intention to prevent the US and UK from using the base for what they described as a launching pad for war crimes. Oh, sounds familiar. Soon, we won't be allowed to do something the Prime Minister once argued was perfectly legal and morally justified. That's the reality we're facing. There's even talk of the government proscribing the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. This would then mean that it would be illegal to support direct action to stop genocide, and it would also be illegal to support Iran's right to self-defense. If you're not British and you wonder why the British never expressed support for resistance groups, it's because they would go to jail. Counterterrorism legislation would leave them with far fewer rights than a regular criminal, and they would not be given anything like due process. Their imprisonment would be a formality. Often, suspects are denied access to a lawyer or even access to electronic devices and put on house arrest until they go to court under a media blackout. Like Sarah Wilkinson, they tried to do that too.
Right to jail, right away.
If you were jailed for supporting Palestine action, the media wouldn't probably even mention your name. You would simply vanish until the government decided you could be released from room 101. Anyone who spoke up would have to be careful because the wrong words could land them in the same position. Chilling isn't the word. This is dystopian,
will not be televised.
Dystopian, authoritarian. God, how many words can we use to describe this? Whenever the government introduces a draconian measure for Israel,
25.
Sure. Whenever the government introduces a draconian measure on behalf of Israel, the argument goes something like supporting Palestinians is not illegal, but violence is. Then the police prosecute people who are not violent. So, not only are you not allowed to take meaningful action to stop Israel's genocide, you're not even allowed to express your disapproval. If the government has not found a way to silence you, it's always looking at new ways. The government was even shutting down peaceful protests until the courts ruled that was unlawful, and it's now considering changing the law to get around this. If your basic freedoms are inconvenient to Israel, your basic freedoms have to go. It's no coincidence that they're going after those who advocate for Palestine. You will never see counterterrorism legislation used against a supporter of Israel. If they say something supportive of genocide, well, that's just free speech. If they damage property, that's just petty vandalism. When a supporter of Palestine does the same, it's terrorism.
Terror.
Israel has committed the two biggest crimes under international law, genocide and a war of aggression, as well as collective punishment.
That's just the first two.
Right. Both of these crimes are more serious than terrorism, yet the government is pretending opposition to these crimes is terrorism. It's punishing people for doing the right thing. That sounds familiar because they're doing the same thing here.
Terrorism. Terrorist.
Police, freeze!
The Genocide Convention does not just put the onus on governments to act to prevent genocide, but on individuals. Palestine Action and others are acting in accordance with international law when they try to prevent genocide. Some would argue that there's no such thing as international law. Our government, on the other hand, is seriously in breach of international law. Again, if there were such a thing. There are treaties between countries, but there is no universally accepted law that all countries abide by. There's treaties, there's doctrines or whatever you call it, but it's not law because it hasn't been passed by every single one of their Congress or, their bodies of law. It's only kind of like a suggested thing, that when we do something at the UN, that's not like binding as a law of the land. David Lammy is blackmailing Iran by threatening that the U.S. will illegally bomb its nuclear sites. Too late. He's threatening further war crimes if the victim of an illegal war of aggression does not surrender. While the government is calling the likes of Palestine Action terrorists, this is the real terrorism. It's literally mafia thug terrorism. Terrorism, again, is the use of terror and violence to coerce people. Bombing nuclear sites in Iran certainly would fall under that jurisdiction, under that definition. Setting off bombing pagers in Lebanon definitely would fall under that definition. No one in the UK is feeling terrorized by Palestine Action. No one is remotely afraid of what Palestine Action is doing might kill them because it's not terrorism by any objective measure. Maybe one day Ricky will go to jail for making these points, and I sincerely hope not. Alternatively, he might be conscripted to fight in a war that Israel started. Those are the prospects on offer in our so-called freedom-loving democracy. Are you not sick of Israel's shit yet? Man, I sure am. And shout out again to Ricky and Council of State Media. That's councilofstatemedia.uk is the URL for that. They're also on Twitter and on Blue Cry. They seem to think that, being off of Elon's platform is beneficial, even though it gives you nearly tiny percentage of the visibility. All right. But I support Palestine Action. All right. Michael Lynch says we're being ruled by the criminally insane. Good old Hitler had nothing on these ghouls, and hard to argue with, honestly. But we don't need to make comparisons. I mean, they are murderers, period. Mass murderers who are continuing to send spy flights and munitions and fuel tankers to support the murder of children every day. 100 Palestinians murdered a day is what the Knesset wants to be able to have happen, and the world not even think about it. No, sorry, that's not going to happen here. We're going to think about it. We're going to talk about it. And we're going to remind people that Israel and the U.S. and UK are systematically murdering Palestinian babies every day. Unarmed, defenseless Palestinian babies living in tents, trying to survive, who are also being starved for 105 or 106 days, however many days that is now. So fuck Israel for all that. And fuck Israel for controlling the narrative in the UK, forcing the UK to put an organization like Palestine Action on a terror watch list? Because you know that if that were any other organization that wasn't on behalf of Israel, they wouldn't be talking about putting them on a terrorist list. They just wouldn't. This is done by Israel and orchestrated by Israel, because they have to control the narrative 100% across the board all the time. Because the minute that they don't, people start asking questions and pointing out the monstrous shit that they do, and it's a problem for them. So again, fuck Israel, fuck the UK, fuck Keir Starmer, authoritarian Nazi piece of shit, and I have no problem calling him one. All right, that's wow. Shout out again to Ricky. Go support Council State Media. Support independent media.
Wow.
Yeah. We'll probably, again, not be remonetized by YouTube for pulling that stunt. So if you're able to, please help us out. Cash App, $, Indie News Network. Ko-fi.com/Indie News Network. PayPal.me/Indie News Network. And at IndieNewsNow.com. Yeah, money. That right. That Pink Floyd. Shout out to Roger Waters, who is principled and stands up for Palestine every chance he gets. Also, IndieNewsNow.com, IndieMediaToday.com over on Substack. We're live at IndieMediaToday.com now, IndieNewsNow.com, IndieNewsNow.com, IndieMediaToday.com. So many places you can go in order to support independent media, because we need it more than ever. Again, I love you all, and see you soon. I don't know when, but we'll see you soon. See you, everyone.
Bye. Have a great time.
Bye-bye!
No! We just fucking lost the stream!
I guess this isn't such an awful place. Is that what you want me to say? You prove it's possible to sleep for days, and I still think you're right here awake. The cost of living isn't much to make, but God, it's so hard to say. And when they told you everything was safe, were you safe?
are these people?
Anita Wood, thank you. A new monthly subscriber to INN newsletter. So all these people already have contributed and supported. The ways that you can do that if you're not already on that board, and we appreciate everyone that is and continue to be on that board and continue to support. Cash App, $ Indie News Network, ko-fi.com/Indie News Network, paypal.me/Indie News Network. And then we've got the Substacks, INNnewsletter.com, IndieMediaToday.com, and our self-hosted website that has a Stripe plugin at IndieNewsNow.com. And then you go to the Keep the Media Free, and you can hook up a monthly or one-time contribution over there. Here's another short but fuck Israel segment. Let's not forget Gaza, because in all of this, and the reason why a lot of this is being done is to cover up for Israel's slaughter of the Palestinian people in Gaza, the takeover and annexing of the West Bank, the mineral rights and everything that they're going to steal from underneath. But they have blacked again. There's so little reporting coming out of there. That's a person being burned alive. Again, we see this too often. There's a fire with people. Yep. There's somebody like laying in a bed or sitting in a chair. People dead next to it. Just like, this is what they're dealing with on a daily basis. Thanks. And again, Israel has the audacity to liken Iran's supreme leader to Hitler. Where do they get off deciding who should and shouldn't exist? They are the epitome of evil, is this person's opinion. We're watching Israel carry out another Holocaust in real time, and our leaders are profiting off of it, which is one of the reasons why they're allowing it to happen. But, look, these images are horrific, and I hate to bring them, but they are part of the story, and we cannot turn away. This is what they would like us to turn away and to not pay attention to this and report on it and talk about it. But we're going to talk about it here. Here's another story that's heartbreaking, and another fuck Israel story. This is Mossab Abu Toha, who's a writer, a Palestinian poet and writer from Gaza. He won the Pulitzer Prize for commentary. All right.
Oh.
This is the son of my neighbor who was killed today. His parents waited 15 years before this child came into their world. His name was Kenan al-Masri. He was a beautiful child. Israel killed him. And you did not stop them from committing this crime and thousands more. None of us did. Could.
You better say free Palestine.
It's beyond heartbreaking. I mean, why? Amalek. I mean, disgusting. The rhetoric and the behavior. And just to remind people, this is not AI. It's a photo of starving Palestinians putting their lives in peril to get a bag of flour. This is a holocaust of mass killing, starvation, and destruction. That is not AI. That is an actual photo.
Did you see the one where they had the fucking crawl? Like literally army crawling.
Yep.
Like, I don't know how for long, but it was like a crazy amount. Or they popped their fucking head up. They got shot at. Like what?
Yep.
What? Ugh, Jesus Christ.
Yes. Horrible. And then we also have Mohammed Safa, who has video of Gaza. He comments that there has never been a war in history where 80% of the country's been destroyed, 100% of the population displaced. Let me read that again. 100% of the population displaced because no structure stands, and 50% of the deaths, children. There's only one word for that, and it's genocide, or it's extermination.
Nothing justifies genocide.
Yeah, like she said. So here's the 14 seconds of this. Just devastation. Leveled by U.S. bombs and Israeli bombers. All right, this isn't hand-to-hand, on-the-ground combat.
I mean, dude, compare that to pictures of Nagasaki. Hiroshima. Like,
yeah. You can.
I don't think people grasp the fucking, like, first of all, okay, 6-foot person down there on the fucking ground. Like, just start doing the fucking math, right? Those are buildings. Those are floors you see, right? Floors of buildings. Count them up, right? Yep. These are fucking blocks of city streets.
Not
densely
anymore.
Populated cities at that. Like, this is insanity.
Yep. Absolutely horrific.
Like, and just think of how one photo of a burning child in Vietnam made people figure out things, you know? Like,
Steve says 377,000 Palestinians are missing. Yeah. And again, this is continuing with the protection of the United States and UK and Australia and India. They're literally providing cover and support for this, especially the US and UK. I mean, UK is using the basin in Cyprus, which apparently a lot of Israelis are trying to flee to now because they got a little taste of what missiles hitting Tel Aviv are, and they don't like it, and they want to leave. And even though the airport's closed, they can get on a boat and they can go to Cyprus, and apparently a lot of them are.
They can fucking go take a cruise. Like,
they could.
We're talking about the Israelis that fucking pulled out, right? Who have somewhere to go.
Well,
that they fucking
back to Europe, right?
No, they like literally were on a fucking cruise ship. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, the official toll is like around 60,000, but that's insane also because the Gaza Health Ministry, where do you find the records in the Gaza Health Ministry in that rubble right there on screen? Where's the Gaza Health Ministry going to maintain the computer files that have the list of every single person that's been born since October 7th? They can't even account for any of the, half of them are starved or put dead in incubators or bombed out. And how many? 17 pages of martyred children under the age of 1. And yet these people are still, Israel has a right to exist. No, it doesn't. It has a right to go fuck itself. That's what it does right now. That's all it has the right to do. It has a right to fuck off. All right. And for saying shit like that is why we will never probably get remonetized by YouTube. And we could use your support in doing that. Cash App $, Indie News Network. Ko-fi.com/Indie News Network. PayPal.me/Indie News Network. IndieNewsNow.com. INNNewsletter.com. IndieMediaToday.com. So many places you can go in order to support independent media. Because we need it more than ever. Again, I love you all, and see you soon. I don't know when, but we'll see you soon. See you, everyone.
Bye. Have a great time.
Bye-bye.
No! We just fucking lost the stream.
I guess this isn't such an awful place. Is that what you want me to say? You prove it's possible to sleep for days, and I still think you're right here awake. The cost of living isn't much to make, but God, it's so hard to say. And when they told you everything was safe, were you safe? Were you safe?
these people.
Anita Wood, thank you. A new monthly subscriber to INN newsletter. So all these people already have contributed and supported. The ways that you can do that if you're not already on that board, and we appreciate everyone that is and continue to be on that board and continue to support. Cash App, $ Indie News Network, ko-fi.com/Indie News Network, paypal.me/Indie News Network. And then we've got the Substacks, INNnewsletter.com, IndieMediaToday.com, and our self-hosted website that has a Stripe plugin at IndieNewsNow.com. And then you go to the Keep the Media Free, and you can hook up a monthly or one-time contribution over there. We're going to get to Tel Aviv and Israel's attack on unprovoked attack, again, that we covered last week, that Israel attacked Iran. It hasn't gotten any better, but Iran, of course, retaliated this week, and we saw some areas in Israel get hit. We learned that the Iron Dome isn't as impenetrable as everybody thought it was, that it can't stop hypersonic missiles. And apparently Israel thinks that bombing hospitals is bad again, which I thought was really interesting, considering that they've bombed hospitals, every one of them, as Laura from Normal Island News points out, after bombing every hospital in Gaza to find the non-existent Hamas command center. The Israeli government is hiding in a command center under Ichilov Hospital in Tel Aviv. But don't worry, though, it's fine when Israel uses human shields.
Got him!
Oh, man. So, again, we did strike Iran and we did a preemptive, quote unquote, or, there's another word for that. But on June 19th, this was 2 days in advance, Kyle Anzalone, another Indie Media Award honoree over at Libertarian Institute and antiwar.com, had it.
Pause.
And this,
can someone do one of those line drawings that, you know what I'm talking about, where they put the, Trump's leaning into Melania? Can someone do that with that photo, please? He's not strong, very weak. Woman's the strength in the relationship. Look at the strong, upright lines. Trump leaning in.
He's leaning. Okay. So, again, this is before we attacked, but he got word, and I don't know where they get their source from, but American officials are gearing up for a U.S. strike on Iran that could come as soon as this weekend, even though Trump said it would be 2 weeks. You'd think about it for 2 weeks. U.S. bases and diplomatic facilities in the region are also preparing for a potential retaliation if President Trump orders a strike on the Islamic Republic. Bloomberg reports, quote,
Tactical nuke incoming!
Maybe. Senior officials are preparing for the possibility of a strike on Iran in the coming days, according to people familiar with the matter, as Israel and the Islamic Republic continue to exchange fire. Again, did Iran fire at Israel first? I refresh my memory, because no, they didn't. And now, did Iran fire at the United States first before we apparently attacked them? No. The article adds that, quote, some of them pointed to potential plans for a weekend strike. Right? Well, that was pretty accurate. The sources explained that Trump's current strategy is hoping that threatening to attack Iran would lead Tehran to comply with his demand for unconditional surrender. On Wednesday, when he was asked if he was going to order a strike on Iran, the president replied, I may do it. I may not do it. I mean, nobody knows what I'm going to do. Except Israel knew the whole time what he was going to do. Tehran said it will not negotiate under duress. As well, they should not. They are a sovereign nation. Iran does not negotiate under duress, shall not accept peace under duress, and certainly not with a has-been warmonger clinging to relevance, the Iranian UN mission said. The Wall Street Journal reported that late Tuesday, Trump approved the strike plans for Iran, but withheld authorizing the attack. Washington was taking steps to prepare for war. Newsweek reports viewing satellite imagery that shows American aircraft have been removed from Al Udeid air base in Qatar. All right. A statement from the Pentagon said, quote, "We recommend that U.S. citizens in Qatar take similar precautions." They weren't recommending an evacuation yet, but they were getting, they weren't like
Pentagon.
those guys.
Pentagon.
The U.S. has also removed some of its diplomatic staff and their families from Israel, but I believe that was voluntary. And now the airport's closed, so they can't, unless they get on a boat somewhere. Right?
I do that?
So I wanted to point out that Kyle had it a couple of days in advance, but it wasn't just Kyle. It was Bloomberg pulling it and the Wall Street Journal pulling it. And everybody kind of knew that they were planning to quite possibly do this. I think a lot of people didn't think they would actually do it. And they did. So we go to Carrie Wedler.
Take a stand against evil.
Against those who would commit and sponsor acts of terror, who kill innocent civilians, deprive human beings of basic dignity, indoctrinate their youth, use religion to justify brutality, whose hearts are filled with hate, and who collectivize and dehumanize millions of people. That all sounds pretty evil, so you should stop supporting the state of Israel, whose rulers commit and sponsor acts of terror, kill innocent civilians, deprive people of basic human dignity, indoctrinate their youth, use religion to justify brutality, whose hearts are filled with hate, and who collectivize and dehumanize millions of people. The point isn't Israel bad, Iran and Hamas good. Questioning the Israeli government is not the same thing as being anti-Semitic or siding with Hamas or the Iranian government, which, unfun fact, rose to power as a revolt against a CIA-imposed autocrat. The biggest extremists rule through force and violence while pushing false dichotomies of good and evil to justify their own brutality and inhumanity as they condemn it in others. They propagandize poor souls into cheering on carnage and abuse when their perceived team does it. Now is a great time to stop letting them manipulate your heart, mind, and spirit into supporting murder, regardless of who's committing it.
Seems pretty obvious to me, but apparently people need to be reminded who the real extremists are. Who has not, again, attacked anyone, who didn't even threaten to attack anyone, but they were certainly attacked. I mean, this whole thing has been the Wesley Clark plan. So let's just remind MAGA just how much they fell for it again in the missile bombing of United States enters war with Iran without congressional approval, of course, because he said he didn't need permission and he'll just do it. And who's going to stop him? And that's exactly what he just did. So great, man. That's really what I had brought for where we're at so far, because that's really all we know so far. So
yeah,
fuck Trump, fuck Israel. Go ahead.
You mean we don't just give our immediate reaction to what happens? We try to find out what happened and then report. You know,
it's a novel concept. I know.
Crazy.
Report first, ask questions later.
I'm telling you, it just became clicks and get there first.
Breaking news.
Report first, ask questions later.
By the way, we did a story about a propagandist a couple of weeks ago on this show that nobody else has exposed or talked about. And that person somehow became pretty important in disseminating the White House talking points with regard to how Trump has always said he wanted to prevent a nuclear Iran, except that if you actually watch the facts about what had happened and the IAEA stuff and Richard Medhurst's breakdown of it, Iran was never close to having a nuclear weapon. They hadn't enriched the uranium that was necessary, and they certainly hadn't done it under the JCPOA, which, as a reminder, Trump tore up and we bailed out of, not Iran. But somehow they need to follow some kind of a standard. And why is it that Iran can't have a nuclear weapon, but Israel can? When Israel's been destroying countries all over the region? Oh, it's because we're backing them. Oh, right. Okay. Steve Gill, last 24 hours, 25,000 Israelis requested exit passes, and they've been denied because Bibi wants to use them as human shields, apparently.
Denied.
Hilarious. Stairway denied. We are demonetized over on YouTube. We don't want you to pay via the platforms. We would much prefer for you to use one of these methods to support the independent media you want to see like this. Cash App, $, Indie News Network. Thank you to people that do that. Ko-fi.com/Indie News Network will actually pop something up on screen here. PayPal.me/Indie News Network. IndieNewsNow.com is our website. We're actually live there right now if you go to the Watch Live section. And then we've got our Substacks, but we're also now live, okay, at INNNewsletter.com for the network, and at IndieMediaToday.com, which is my Substack, where all the clips and segments from this show every week are cut up and sent out as daily emails, as their own kind of posts, whatever you want to call them. IndieNewsNow.com, INNNewsletter.com, IndieMediaToday.com. So many places you can go in order to support independent media, because we need it more than ever. Again, I love you all, and see you soon. I don't know when, but we'll see you soon. See you, everyone.
Bye. Have a great time.
Bye-bye.
No! We just fucking lost the stream.
I guess this isn't such an awful place. Is that what you want me to say? You prove it's possible to sleep for days, and I still think you're right here awake. The cost of living isn't much to make, but God, it's so hard to say. And when they told you everything was safe, were you safe? Were you safe?
Who are these people?
Anita Wood, thank you. A new monthly subscriber to INN Newsletter. So all these people already have contributed and supported. The ways that you can do that if you're not already on that board, and we appreciate everyone that is and continue to be on that board and continue to support. Cash App, $, Indie News Network. Ko-fi.com/Indie News Network. PayPal.me/Indie News Network. And then we've got the Substacks, INNNewsletter.com, IndieMediaToday.com, and our self-hosted website that has a Stripe plugin at IndieNewsNow.com. And then you go to the Keep the Media Free, and you can hook up a monthly or one-time contribution over there. And now we're going to talk about how badly the Trump administration is persecuting people. But they had a little bit of a setback in there.
At the Legion of Doom.
Basically, yeah. But they had a little setback this week to their persecution agenda, thankfully. All right. On Friday, a federal judge has ordered that Mahmoud Khalil, for the second week in a row, was to be released from ICE detention. Only this time they actually did it. Reminder that he has not been charged with a crime. Again, 104 days locked up, never charged with a crime. Other than a visa violation, because they revoked his visa while he was already here, and then swept him off the streets, put him into a car, shipped him down to Louisiana, and stuck him in a hole for 100 days. And wanted to bury him and have everybody forget about him, and fought to keep him in prison without giving him a trial or any kind of due process. Free speech, journalism, and free speech are not a crime, as proud socialist our friend says over here. So I'm going to bring this is the actual news report from the Fox affiliate locally when he walked out of the detention facility.
All right, we're heading back over to the LaSalle Detention Center where Mahmoud Khalil is currently being released, and our Shaw Pryor is still on the scene with more.
Music.
I know, dude.
All right, here we are on the scene at the LaSalle Detention Center as Mahmoud Khalil is
fascinating footage there of a building.
Moment. It has been since March since Mahmoud Khalil was detained by ICE on the campus of Columbia University, and now he is finally getting released from the LaSalle Detention Center here in Jena. Mahmoud has missed many life events during this time, including the birth of his first child, and now he is getting ready to walk out of the LaSalle Detention Center for the first time on his path to return home to New York. Mahmoud Khalil was known.
The cameraman, this is so bad. Like, dude.
I know, dude.
Really?
Fucking move. Go
like,
around, bro.
Find him. Come on, move. Yeah, zoom out. Find
zoom out.
There they are.
Just hold on the sign, bro. Hold on the sign.
Wow. You're here on
your
the
hands
scene,
in the
but
shot.
not really seeing it. Your hands in the shot. Terrible, but yes, he got out. Free at last. Free at last. You know, he got out, and then he was able to fly home. So I wanted to point this out. I brought this from Left Voice, another Indie Media Award honoree. All right. Yeah, that after over 100 days in detention, Columbia University graduate and pro-Palestinian activist Mahmoud Khalil has finally been released from federal custody on bail. Speaking to reporters after, he said, "No one is illegal. No human is illegal." Khalil's case as one of the first targets of Trump's attacks on freedom of speech galvanized widespread support, with millions rushing to his defense, including us. His freedom is an important victory for the movement for Palestine, as well as those who oppose the U.S.-Israeli genocide in Gaza, and it's a win for those who have been fighting to stop Trump's efforts to shred our most basic rights. Released on bail, Khalil still faces a legal battle ahead. It's essential that we continue to fight for the state to drop all charges against Khalil and all being attacked for standing with Palestine, like Ramasio Ozturk. Again, these people committed no crime. No crime. They were here legally. They had a green card or a visa. And then the state, the country decided, the State Department, to revoke that without telling them, and then swept them up and decided that they were now criminals because they were here illegally because that had been revoked without telling them. It doesn't work that way. So shout out to, again, Indie Media Award honoree, Decensored News, who got the footage through Megnon Bose over on Twitter of Mahmoud Khalil arriving.
Also, good on you for sourcing that. Good on you, Decensored News, for sourcing that.
He did. At Newark Airport.
Very respectable.
Right. They knew that after more than 3 months, they can breathe a sigh of relief and know that he's on his way home to me and Dean, their son, who never should have been separated from his father. Yes, he not only missed the birth of his son, he missed his first Father's Day, which to me as a father, just that sucks. That's shit. And they'll have another, they'll make up for it, but whatever. You can't make up for it. You don't get that back. So this 41 seconds, notice if you'll see a figure who does not belong there whatsoever throughout this footage. Woo, yeah. Woo. Wait, who's walking next to the stroller? Now that's his wife in a headscarf. Noor. Who's in that dark suit? Anybody know? Anybody recognize her?
Oh God.
There's always the macro, and then there's the micro.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez managed to find a way to show up at this. Now, some people said that she's his congresswoman. I don't think so, because I'm pretty sure that Columbia University isn't part of New York 14. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's not. That's in Washington Heights. She's oversees the Bronx and Queens. I know what New York 14 is. I actually scouted that zip code by zip code. Way back in 2018, Jesus actually. Christ. I researched New York 14 before she was the candidate for Justice Democrats, funny enough. So I know she's not his congressperson. She just seized on a photo op. And for some reason, she was invited to make that walk from him walking in the airport to greeting his fellow activists at Newark. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
You know you got to do it, right?
I'm not going to.
You're being summoned to do it. You got to say the line.
What?
You know? You got to say the line.
I don't know which line that is.
Check the chat.
Oh. Okay.
You'll get it when you check the chat.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not checking. I can't read it that fast and process.
I don't stand for that.
Anyway, Decensored News also reminded us again where we were for the last 100 days. How did this all start? Here's an incredible exchange where a deputy secretary of Homeland Security was asked why Mahmoud Khalil was arrested in the first place. And this is almost 5 minutes, so I'm not going to play it.
Why?
But just a reminder that when he was pressed by the judge, he could not give a single example of Khalil's alleged terrorist activity, his support of terrorism, or any criminal activity at all. Because Khalil's name was on a list that was handed to the White House by Beitar U.S., and they executed on behalf of Beitar U.S., and by extension, the Israel lobby. That's who Beitar represents, the Zionists of America. So Zionists of America had a list of all the Palestinian activists that had visas or green cards. I wonder how they got that. They handed it to the Trump administration and said, these people you might want to think about deporting. And Trump admin said, that's a great idea. Let's do that. And that's what they've been in the process of doing. And nobody has really stopped them except for the courts and a few activist lawyers and some judges that have been principled enough to say that what they're doing is wrong. They're shredding the Constitution. They're shredding the rights of immigrants that they are, that precedent has established that they are entitled to here. But for some reason, Trump admin just wants to strip them of all of that. So thank you, Anita, for being the latest subscriber to INNNewsletter.com. We put out a daily update there. We put out podcast episodes of of INN News. We're doing Jesse Jett, American Tradition. I just moved American Tradition's podcast over to Substack, so you can watch all the previous shows commercial free, totally ad free over there. But yeah, support the media you want to see over at Cash App, $ Indie News Network, ko-fi.com/Indie News Network, paypal.me/Indie News Network, over at IndieNewsNow.com, which is our news website, and then also at the Substacks, INNNewsletter.com and IndieMediaToday.com, where we're still live right now. And we've had more than 60 people check in tonight so far at IndieMediaToday.com. I really appreciate everybody checking it out. Hope you stay. Hope you like what you're seeing. And hope you share it with other people so more people can actually see it. So thank you again.
Thank you.
IndieNewsNow.com, INNNewsletter.com, IndieMediaToday.com. So many places you can go in order to support independent media, because we need it more than ever. Again, I love you all, and see you soon. I don't know when, but we'll see you soon. See you, everyone.
Bye. Have a great time.
Bye-bye.
No! We just fucking lost the stream.
I guess this isn't such an awful place. Is that what you want me to say? You prove it's possible.
are these people?
We're going to again talk about some of the shit that Israel's been up to. And it's not good. Not good. Not good at all. So this is our brother, Ghost Art. I think he's over here in chat, and he might even be over on Rumble also at the Hamaste over there. All right, good to see you, brother. He put this up, politics trending from the other day. Actually, it was from last Monday, the 23rd. Israeli forces have killed Ismail Abu Nadi, a volunteer with the Rawabi Charitable Foundation, along with several members of his family after targeting their home in northern Gaza. I didn't even know there were homes in northern Gaza at this point, but I'm guessing it was a tent, and they saw him feeding them and were like, yeah, that can't happen. May he rest in power. That's awful. Fuck Israel for that. Like, why? Because he's feeding people.
Fuck you.
Next one. Oh, boy. Zay Squirrel. Shout out to Zay Squirrel. I'm actually a mod at the Zay Squirrel over on Discord. At Zay_Squirrel over on Twitter. The Mossad called Iranian generals and threatened to kill their wife and children if they did not record video messages saying that they oppose the Iranian government and want to overthrow it. They planned to release those videos when they launched their war to cause state collapse. None of the generals they threatened made the video and instead stood by their nation and people. And as Zay Squirrel says, genocidal Zionists are the most depraved, subhuman scum alive, and everything they do must be done to them 1,000-fold. Call all their generals and military commanders and tell them, record a video saying you'll leave the colony you've occupied within 12 hours, or you and your wife and children and entire bloodline will be wiped off the face of the earth. See how that feels.
He has a wife, you know.
This is not merely a hollow threat from Mossad. They actually mass kill scientists and generals, along with their children and wives and other babies and children and civilians who just happen to live or be next to them. Then they cry, OMG terrorism! They go after women and children, OMG terrorism! The worst actual terrorists alive are genocidal Zionists. They introduced terrorism into the region and spread it everywhere like the cancer they are, both directly themselves and via their proxies like ISIS. Yes, ISIS. As Norm...
ISIS agents use Krav Maga. We've got an ex-Mossad guy. He comes in on Thursday.
Yep. As Noam Chomsky famously said, quote, it's a great error to describe terrorism as the weapon of the weak. It's a weapon of the strong and always has been. If they do it, it's terrorism. When we do it, it's counter-terrorism. Now you can find that in Guess What archives too. I did not see that coming.
Terrorism. Terror.
All right. There's a lot more here, but that is just despicable and disgraceful. Can you imagine calling somebody that you consider to be your enemy, the generals of that? First of all, they assassinated like 4 generals on the day that they illegally attacked a sovereign country that did not attack them. Now they're calling the other ones that are left and threatening them and their wives and their families. Nice. And they're supposedly the civil ones, right?
This is indeed a disturbing universe.
So, not only that, but their murder of journalists continues. In the last week, Zionism Observer, receipts_LOL. We at Databases for PAL maintain a database of journalists murdered by Israel at stopmurderingjournalists.com. Good URL. Ahmad Saad is the 4th journalist murdered by Israel this week. For comparison, over the past 10 years, Iran and China combined murdered one journalist. One. So fuck Israel for murdering journalists, because you only murder journalists. Here's another one here. Ahmad Saad, martyred after an airstrike targeted a group of civilians in the Al-Tufa neighborhood in eastern Gaza City. And was it that device in his hand that got them targeted? I hope not. Next. Guy Christensen, also the heroic Palestinian journalists who Israel martyred in Gaza, shall be remembered in their own museum one day. Agreed. And we talked about that with Jonathan Cook having an incredibly powerful video that we showed here on the show a while back. Speaking of Jonathan Cook, he's laying out, and the last article we brought from him was literally like the Israeli playbook. Indie Media Award honoree. Yes, and Jeremy over there, fuck Israel, agreed over on Substack as well. Here's the genocide by starvation timeline. First, Israel stops UN aid from reaching Gaza, claiming that the world body lets Hamas steal aid. Meanwhile, back in the Hall of Injustice, Netanyahu admits that Israel has been arming criminal gangs in Gaza. Those gangs use their guns to loot aid trucks and run a food extortion racket. I wonder how that happened. Israel then releases drone video showing a truck being looted, but claims that the gang it armed is actually Hamas. The people of Gaza are now left to starve for months on end.
Meanwhile, at the Legion of Doom,
there too. Eventually, Israel responds to growing pressure by setting up 4 aid hubs run by armed mercenaries. That's called the Gaza Health Foundation, claiming that they'll distribute food instead. The hubs, of course, are located specifically to lure Palestinians away from northern Gaza to the southern border, so Israel can more easily drive them into Egypt. Each day for weeks.
Which they're already using that for Squid Game's murder bullshit.
Well, see, that's what he's about to say. You know? Each day for weeks, Israel shoots into the crowds of starving Palestinians trying to reach these hubs, killing dozens each time. Hardly anyone manages to get some of the trickle of aid. Now Netanyahu halts even these paltry supplies into northern Gaza based on a video showing armed gangs stealing aid. Once again, the claim is that these criminals armed by Israel are Hamas. So Israel is arming Hamas? Rinse and repeat. Our politicians and media say nothing. Israel can keep doing this until every last Palestinian is dead, because nobody's stopping them.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
All right, and here is from Haaretz. Netanyahu halts North Gaza aid after Smotrich threatens to quit the coalition over alleged Hamas access. Fucking
that was
disgusting.
When? Did you have a date on that?
The 26th. That was like 3 days ago. 4 days ago.
On that Haaretz article?
I don't see a date on that. It looks like it was... no, it's clipped. It's clipped out.
Okay. No worries.
I don't see Jonathan doing that. You know, like...
Yeah.
Although, again, rinse and repeat. This could be from 4 months ago or 6 months ago or 5 years ago. I mean, they've been doing this.
Yeah, I remember the Smotrich stuff. I think it was a while ago. But
I think he's back.
Same.
Pretty sure he's back.
Okay.
So, I also want to give a shout out to fucking Miss Rachel, man. Miss Rachel's a G. All right. Hashtag let aid into Gaza, as she reminds people with her massive platform and gets 3.1 million views. All right. There are trucks with enough food to feed 1 million people for 4 months, a few miles away from starving children. Cruelty. But that's not the only Miss Rachel tweet. There was another one, again on Tuesday. Please like and share this post if you want the children of Gaza to have the food they need and not starve anymore. Please like and share this post if you want the children to have the medicine they need and not suffer anymore. Please like and share this post if you want the children to be protected from violence and not be killed anymore. Please like and share this post if you want UN humanitarian aid to be allowed in and for us to end this unconscionable, horrific treatment of children. Said I'm with Team Miss Rachel on this one. And by the way, of course, I did like and share this post because that's what you need to do. At minimum. That's bare minimum shit right there. So I'm with Team Miss Rachel. And Asal Rod was also, you know, like giving her props for using her platform. And it's not just Miss Rachel, but she's been really outspoken and the Zionists have really gone after her hard about it and like tried to get her canceled, and it's only made her stronger. Now, I've seen this posted a bunch of times lately, so this is really starting to make the rounds, but this is not a publication I normally put up. The America First post, not normally one that I refer to, but again, been verified a bunch. Gaza officials say that they found crushed opioid pills inside the U.S.-Israel aid flour, calling it a potentially deliberate attack on public health.
I saw, I forget who it was, but they said that their like sister had gotten like sugar from the market and then started having hallucinations. Like,
well,
they're like literally drugging the food that makes it in.
Well, that's what they were saying. It's not just about that. It's about who knows what else they're putting in the food. I think I even
what
have
else
that
is in
too.
there, right?
So I have a video from Guy
existence is a mockery of morality.
Guy Christensen. We've talked about him before.
Israel is putting oxycodone into the flour bags they're delivering as aid to the Palestinians in Gaza. Through the organization Israel set up to control the flow of supplies to the people they're starving, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, these pills are opioids. They cause severe addiction. They're harming the Palestinians in a dirty war on top of this genocide. Multiple testimonies have come forward already with doctors confirming what's being reported. The GHF is led by Trump's former faith advisor, who's also a top guy with the ADL. That's right, the Anti-Defamation League, which is combating anti-Semitism, is directly involved in Israel's final solution on Gaza,
the Anti-Defecation
which this
League
aid distribution plan is part of, with Israel slaughtering hundreds of Palestinians, risking their lives to go through red zones to reach these aid compounds, which are biometric camps, scanning Palestinians' identities and tracking them so Israel can target them at a later date. What we also learned today is that this massacre of innocent civilians coming to the GHF compounds and getting slaughtered by Israeli soldiers is deliberate. They were outright instructed to do this in what's called Operation Salted Fish. Multiple soldiers came forward anonymously to the Israeli media outlet Haaretz. This is a reminder to me and all of us that however bad you think the genocide is, however gruesome, it is 100 times worse. You just haven't heard about it yet. There's a lot to unpack here, and of course I'm going to make some videos tomorrow and the next day unpacking these individual Operation Salted Fish and the GHF and how the ADL is connected to this final solution on Gaza, Operation Gideon's Chariots. But as for now, free Palestine forever and always within our lifetimes. You can support my work in my bio. Thank you.
This dude also, by the way, urged people to skip a meal and give the money that you would have spent on a meal to a Palestinian cause. And this kid, man, he's something. I got to tell you, you know, he's doing it, and I give him a lot of props. Again, being attacked mercilessly by the Zionist, you know, coalition, the media arm.
Who are these people?
That they
Who
have.
are these people?
Thank you to whoever that was.
Hey, Margaret
appreciate
Villa,
that.
thanks for always speaking on Palestine. Free Palestine until it's backwards. And fuck ICE. Appreciate
Fuck
it.
yeah. Fuck yeah, sweetheart. Love it.
Like
Thank
getting
you.
some
Thank you,
donuts.
Margaret. Appreciate that. Fuck ice. It absolutely. And again, not the one that goes in your drink, but the ones that are deporting. Now it's Haitians, apparently, this week. Apparently, there 500,000 Haitians. Holy crap. So, I'm sorry to do this.
Terrible.
Dave DeCamp, another Indie Media Award honoree, put up this video from Hawidi Hamza. All right, just 50 seconds from one of Gaza's aid lines. You don't need commentary. Just watch how people move, watch how they run, and watch how they try to stay alive while waiting for food. Oh, man. All right, let's do it. I guess that's music is there.
Yeah. Goes. And this is, if you move, they shoot you.
I mean,
and this is what starving humans are willing to put up with for a measly amount of food.
Wow. I don't even know how to describe what I just looked at.
Zero fucking words. Like, ugh.
Yep. So I wanted to bring that. Shout out to our friend the Dissident, the 307.substack.com. He's been on a tear. He's been publishing about 5 articles a week. And I'll tell you, he publishes the link to a bunch of different chats on Substack, public chats. And the people at Matt Taibbi's Racket News chat, you have to be a founding member. So you have to pay like $250 or whatever it is a year, which he pays to be able to post there. Not many people do. And therefore, he dominates that thread. And man, does he fucking tweak the Zionists every time he puts a link in there. How do I unsubscribe from this guy? How do I block this guy from my feed? I don't want to see his articles. Oh, man, do they cry. Because he's bringing receipts like this. This is an article, again, out of Haaretz about how Israel is deliberately killing civilians at aid sites. So what we just witnessed, here's more about it. And again, this is out of an Israeli paper, Haaretz, which means the trees. All right. I believe. Maybe it's the land. But Israel's top newspaper reported that the IDF deliberately killed civilians at aid sites. Yeah, no surprise. By far, the most barbaric atrocity in recent memory has been Israel's massacring of Palestinians, intentionally starved through the Israeli blockade on Gaza through the setup of fake food aid sites. Israel and the U.S. set up the Gaza Humanitarian Fund, a fake humanitarian aid organization to lure Palestinians toward the south of Gaza to further Israel's stated goal of ethnic cleansing. As the Israeli scholar Yaakov Garb noted, quote, these foundation compounds do not bring food to needy populations, but rather entice, under conditions of severe duress, some portions of these populations into remote and highly militarized settings. It's the concentration camps. He pointed out that the majority of these remote and highly militarized settings, i.e. concentration camps, were located in the south of Gaza, exactly where the IDF plans to force Palestinians in Gaza for their ethnic cleansing plan. As he wrote, quote, the fact that 4 of the 5 compounds lie south of the Morag corridor, repeatedly indicated by Israeli officials as the intended destination for concentration of Palestinians to be displaced from the remainder of Gaza in an impending intensification of the military attacks, is not reassuring. Yeah, I would say so. The reality is even more depraved. Not only has Israel used the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation to lure Palestinians into concentration camps, but they've also used it to open fire on starving Palestinian civilians once they reach the aid centers, which we just showed. Palestinians have taken to calling the aid sites death traps due to the daily IDF massacres that have been occurring against civilians once they reach the sites. As the independent outlet Mondo Weiss, another Indie Media Award honoree, wrote, incidents that have taken place at the GHF aid distribution points in southern and central Gaza on a near daily basis They have taken on a familiar pattern in which thousands of starving civilians march in the pre-dawn hours toward the distribution points, and upon arrival are shot by Israeli forces, leading to another aid massacre. The outlet noted that these near-daily aid massacres have led Palestinians again to regard the aid sites run by U.S. organization as massacre sites and death traps, because they are. The Israeli magazine 972 similarly reported something along the same lines. Starving civilians gather in massive crowds waiting for permission to approach. In many instances, Israeli troops have opened fire on the masses, and even during distribution itself, killing dozens as they try to collect a few kilos of flour or canned goods to bring home in what Palestinians have dubbed the Hunger Games. The literal Hunger Games. Yeah. Haaretz, again, one of Israel's top newspapers, has reported that the order to intentionally fire on innocent civilians at aid sites has come from the top. In a new report titled, quote, IDF soldiers ordered to shoot deliberately at unarmed Gazans waiting for humanitarian aid. Although they are not Gazans, they are Palestinians who are pushed into Gaza. Israel's been trying to change this narrative and name these people Gazans as if that were a thing. These were the people that are survivors from the original Palestine. Don't give them another name. They already have a description. It's called Palestinian. The paper reported that Israeli soldiers in Gaza told Haaretz that the army has deliberately fired at Palestinians near aid distribution sites over the past month. We've known that. The outlet found that conversations with officers and soldiers revealed that commanders ordered troops to shoot at crowds to drive them away or disperse them, even though it was clear they posed no threat. It noted that 549 people have been killed near aid centers and in areas where residents were waiting for UN food trucks since May 27th, and over 4,000 have been wounded. And of course, remember, the entire hospital and healthcare system within Gaza has basically been destroyed by Israel to begin with. So not many people to treat the 4,000 wounded. One IDF soldier told the paper, quote, it's a killing field. Where I was stationed, between 1 and 5 people were killed every day. They're treated like a hostile force. No crowd control measures, no tear gas, just live fire with everything imaginable. Heavy machine guns, grenade launchers, mortars. Then, once the center opens, the shooting stops and they know they can approach. Our form of communication is gunfire. These motherfuckers. And how are they never going to go to prison for this?
He who controls the spice controls the universe.
The soldier admitted that in all of these instances, the desperate, starving civilians posed no military threat, saying, quote, we open fire early in the morning if someone tries to get in line from a few hundred meters away, and sometimes we just charge at them from close range. There's no danger to the forces. I'm not aware of a single instance of return fire. There's no enemy, no weapon. So why do they have all these weapons then? Huh. The paper reported that the IDF disgustingly compared the policy of shooting at starving civilians to prevent them from obtaining food aid to red light, green light. The kids' game.
Jesus Christ. This is what I was talking about. This is literally Squid Games. This is literally a bit in Squid Games. Fucking stupid.
All right.
Stupid.
But he's writing, quote, he also said the activity in his area of service is referred to as Operation Salted Fish, the name of the Israeli version of the children's game Red Light, Green Light, like Guy was just talking about. The paper reported that the civilian massacres had been ordered by Brigadier General Yehuda Vach, writing, quote, and welcome to The Hague, General Vach. A senior officer whose name repeatedly comes up in testimonies about the shootings near aid sites is Brigadier General Yehuda Vach, who is commander of IDS Division 252. Now, an officer in the division says Vach decided to disperse gatherings of Palestinians waiting for UN aid trucks by opening fire. This is his policy, they said. But many of the commanders and soldiers accepted it without question. Well, the Palestinians aren't supposed to be there, so the idea is to make sure they clear out, even if they're just there for food.
Right.
The official excuse from the IDF is that these massacres are done to disperse crowds. But an IDF soldier admitted they've fired on civilians who pose no threat and who've already begun to flee the gunfire. They're shooting them in the backs and not being fired upon. So it's literally just like shooting fish in a barrel. He was quoted in the paper saying, quote, "The teenagers waiting for the trucks hide behind dirt mounds and rush them as they pass or stop at distribution points. We usually see them from hundreds of meters away. It's not a situation where they pose a threat to us." He went on to say, technically, it's supposed to be warning fire, either to push people back or to stop them from advancing. But lately, firing shells has just become standard practice. Every time we fire, there are casualties and deaths. And when someone asks why a shell is necessary, there's never a good answer other than, "Shut the fuck up, you pussy." That's what they're saying to each other. This is the testosterone thing.
Jesus Christ.
Sometimes merely asking the question annoys the commanders. Like, how dare you? How dare you stop my genocide?
Fuck you.
The paper went on to note that, quote, "In that case, some people began to flee after the shell was fired, and according to the soldier, other forces subsequently opened fire on them." Of course, they give them no chance. The soldier then went on to say that, quote, "If it's meant to be a warning shot, and we still see them running back to Gaza, why shoot at them? Sometimes we're told they're still hiding, and we need to fire in their direction because they haven't left. But it's obvious they can't leave if the moment they get up and run, we open fire." The paper noted that the soldier said this has become routine. Another IDF reserve officer admitted that they fired on civilians at aid sites who were not close to forces for no military reason and said that killing innocent people was normalized. Are you fucking kidding me? He was quoted as saying, "When we asked why they opened fire, we were told it was an order from above and that the civilians had posed a threat to the troops. I can say with certainty that the people were not close to the forces and did not endanger them. It was pointless. They were just killed for nothing. This thing called killing innocent people, it's been normalized. We were constantly told there are no non-combatants in Gaza, and apparently that message sank in among the troops, including babies."
How far up above does that order come from them?
Right from,
like,
come on, right from Netanyahu.
Fucking God told them, bro. Fucking, they just, a burning bush whispered it to them.
Another field officer acknowledged these massacres of civilians was due to genocidal IDF ideology, which believes, again, that there are no innocent civilians in Gaza, saying, "My greatest fear is that the shooting and harm to civilians in Gaza aren't the result of operational necessity or poor judgment, but rather the product of an ideology held by field commanders, which they pass down to the troops as an operational plan." Yeah. Of course. Yes. Naturally, I can't believe that's even a question. The paper also noted that Yasser Abu Shabab, the leader of a small ISIS-linked criminal gang, which again is armed by Israel and has repeatedly looted aid with support from the IDF, has taken part in these massacres too. For context, again, as he reported recently, Yasser Abu Shabab's gang has put out videos of looted aid in concentration camps in eastern Rafah in order to lure desperate Palestinians into the south of Gaza, close to the border with Egypt. Haaretz reported. Yep. How about no? Haaretz reported that Yasser Abu Shabab's gang has taken part in aid massacres at these sites with support from the IDF, writing, quote, in addition to the IDF fire, military sources say some of the fatalities near the aid distribution centers were caused by gunfire from militias that the army supports in arms. According to one officer, the IOF continues to back the Abu Shabab group and other factions. Well, why wouldn't they? It's serving their narrative. Yep. There are many groups that oppose Hamas. Abu Shabab went several steps further. They control territory that Hamas doesn't enter, and the IDF encourages that. Okay. Exchange one set of manufactured terrorists for another, because remember that the IDF and that Israel was allowing aid and money to go into Hamas for years. So now they're paying two sides to fight each other. Another article in Haaretz.
If you go back and look through that, that may not be as accurate. Inlakesh has an incredible set of articles going through that. You should look that we covered on INN News. Look up, find the ones that have the chickpea hummus. Look for that.
Okay.
You know?
So he continues another article in Haaretz wrote that 2 weeks after Goher Rahabur, which is a British surgeon working in Gaza, arrived at Nasser Hospital on June 1st, he observed that the profile of wounds had changed. Instead of blast and detonation injuries, many more people began arriving with bullets in their body after Israeli troops opened fire at the starved crowd. Goher Rahabur was quoted as saying that the IDF fired at Palestinians at aid sites while they were trying to evade shooting, and also shot a pregnant woman in the stomach, telling the paper, quote, with some of them, you could see that they were shot while they lay on the ground, trying to evade being shot. Most of them were young men, but there was one woman in her early 30s who was 24 weeks pregnant. As thin as they are and as starved as they are, she might not even known it. The bullet went through the fetus. She survived, but needed a hysterectomy, so no more children. When we opened the abdomen, we could see the hand and the formed foot of the dead fetus. Oh, God. Just fucking monsters. Furthermore, the Palestinian political analyst Mohammed Shahada has found that the so-called Gaza Humanitarian Fund tells emaciated Gazans, come, we have food, then minutes later says, nah, don't come, we're closed. He then noted that as soon as people show up, the IDF empties their machine guns into the starving crowd and mows them down. In other words, the Gaza Humanitarian Fund posts to social media that they're open for food aid to lure starving Palestinians into aid sites, just to post minutes later that they're now closed to justify opening fire at the crowds of people once they arrive. 13 minutes, 17 minutes, 4 minutes. The vile U.S.-backed Israeli policy of starving the entire population of Gaza, then setting up a fake aid organization to murder them, is one of the most evil acts in human history, with no words in the English language to describe the utter depravity and barbarity of this policy. Fuck Israel. And fuck the U.S. And fuck UK. And all the other nations that are supporting and turning a blind eye. Shout out to the dissident, the 307.substack.com for that one. This is another one of my favorite people over on Substack, Alia Moro. She's just reminding people that Israel has bombed schools, hospitals, all masjids, entire cities, tents, ambulances, refugee camps, UN shelters, journalists, residential buildings. They bombed bakeries and marketplaces and water plants and universities and historical sites and aid centers. Well, they're terrorizing the people within their state, so by definition, they are a terrorist state.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there was this little bit of theater and shenanigans that happened, and it was designed specifically for two reasons. Number one, to distract and to get people kind of allowing them to win the news cycle for a day and have people not talking about whatever else was going on. Trump decided this is a minute long, and I'll play the full minute because people are like, play the minute where he criticized Israel. He criticized Israel tepidly. He also criticized Iran in the same breath. Yeah, he said the F word. Oh my God, the president of the United States dropped an F-bomb publicly. First time I can remember that happening in my life, by the way.
Watch your profanity.
Yeah, I do. They violated it, but Israel violated it too. Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I'd never seen before.
By the way, they do that every single time there's a ceasefire announced or some kind of a peace deal that might be in the works. They then go heavy on. They then Israel go heavy. Fires. So that's bullshit.
The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. Load. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because the one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
Wait a minute. First of all,
watch your profanity.
Iran has been fighting so long and so hard. What? Against who? Mm-hmm. Who are they at war with? Wait, what? Like, this entire nonsense, all right? They don't know what the fuck they're doing. Said a guy who has no idea what the fuck he's doing. Every accusation is a confession out of this guy. And out of Zionists by that means. All right? Fuck Trump. Fuck Netanyahu. They're all in on it together. Trump acting bad at Israel is so WWE.
By the way.
Amazing anybody is still taking this seriously. We're not. All right?
Yeah.
Choice is an illusion created by those with power to control those without. The Merovingian. Thanks, Merv. Appreciate that, Merv.
The Merovingian. What a nerd you are. What a nerd to know that.
Oh, are you kidding? He's one of my favorite characters. I fucking love that guy.
What a fucking nerd.
He sends a fucking piece of cake to a woman and makes her have an orgasm on the spot from the cake. How do you not love that guy?
What a fucking nerd you are.
Thank you.
Nerd alert.
Thank you.
A nerd.
Finally, to conclude our fuck Israel segment, I wanted a little bit of a happier note on the end of it, which is that two Indie Media Award honorees are sitting right there together, which I think a lot of us were not sure would ever happen at one point. That's Minar Adley from Mint Press News, but that's Motaz Azaiza, the famous Gaza photographer who was part of UNRWA and was able to get out and has been touring the world speaking and speaking out on behalf of Gaza and on behalf of the Palestinian people. So shout out to them. I believe that the podcast is already out. She asked him, "How does your heart feel?" He replied, "It feels dead." He's a survivor, and my time with him reminded me that he's still processing his pain while the world expects so much from him, but that pain is also what drives him to continue to speak up for Gaza. He's experienced unimaginable pain and loss that most of us could never truly understand. I can't even imagine. How many family members? We also talked about what's happening in Gaza right now with Palestinians being shot at while trying to get aid. He told me horrific stories of starving, pregnant, and breastfeeding mothers that brought me to tears. Despite the pain, his smile lit up the entire room. His laugh warmed my heart. Motaz is 26 years old and grew up too quickly under war, a life he didn't choose. It was a full 360 moment. In 2021, Minar worked with Motaz to produce the Mint Press documentary, Gaza Fights Back. But they had never met in person until the other day. Every single day for a year after October 7th, she communicated with him to see if he was safe. He would respond, I'm still alive, but I'm looking for water. Amidullah, he's still alive. So, at least a couple of them managed to survive. And thank God for that, because he does brilliant work and we need him speaking out. Well, that concludes our Fuck Israel segment. So, hi everybody. I appreciate everybody hanging out that is over on Substack. Talking Wombat.
Look at what I sent you.
Okay, Dave DeCamp is my morning news source, says the Talking Wombat. I see you sent me...
Pull up the ones with the leaks. Look for the leaks.
Okay, well, I've got the ones with the leaks.
Yeah, you gotta pull those out.
Well,
yeah.
You gotta give me a minute here.
You're okay. You're okay. Take your time.
Yeah.
Take your time. We're in no rush. I just wanted to add this to the Fuck Israel segment because they related.
Okay. I think that's okay. 1, 2. No, the third one's here. Hit enter. Okay. Yeah. Well, that was the Squid Game one. I got you. Okay, so let me go back to this. This shit is serious.
Yeah.
All right. An amount of sugar entered Gaza today. My friend is telling me that his neighbor experienced hallucinations after eating that sugar, and she was transferred to Al-Aqsa Hospital. Mohammed Smiri.
So yeah, and scroll down.
Oh, there's Veronique. That's our friend of the show.
They're giving Gaza famine survivors sugar, not medicine, not electrolytes, sugar. Right? They're hallucinating, seizing, confused. This isn't aid, it's neurochemical sabotage. Right? Yeah. Starve a population, then flood their system with glucose. Watches refeeding syndrome kicks in, hallucinations, heart failure, death. They call it complications, medical violence hidden behind a candy wrapper. So
after famine,
that's how that goes.
Magnesium, potassium, phosphorus, and protein, and instead they're giving corn syrup and trauma.
Yeah,
sugar is the cheapest weapon of pacification. Flood a starving body with it. Right.
And the brain short circuits. They call it a humanitarian response, but it's state-sponsored overdose. We used to say, "Let them eat cake." Now it's let them eat sugar, seize, and die confused. Modern genocide is wrapped in aid packaging. Right? So, yeah, and this is the whole tea biscuit stuff too, right? Because it had sugar in it, they wouldn't allow it in. Right?
All right. So then you also sent this one. All right.
Right.
Where
so this is related to this story that was referenced in an article you brought up a minute ago, right? Where they talk about the killing field and what Israel's soldiers are like admitting to, right? But they talked about Operation Salted Fish, right? Which is them playing what they called the red light, green light game?
Red light, green light, 1, 2, 3. Yep.
Right. So that's literally this episode of Squid Game. That's this. That's what they're playing in Israel
with the killing Palestinian people right now. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, what a fucking shit show we live in.
And so for talking about all that, of course, we will not be monetized by YouTube, so you can't super chat us over there, where you can support our channel and support independent media, help us keep the lights on, pay for Restream and Canva where we make all our thumbnails and everything else. You do that over at Cash App, $ Indie News Network, over at ko-fi, kofi-com.com/Indie News Network, paypal.me/Indie News Network. Website at IndieNewsNow.com. There's a Stripe link there. And then we got Substacks over at IndieMediaToday.com where we're live right now. Shout out to everybody who's there. Okay. And INNNewsletter.com as well. I love you all. Thank you so much. Support independent media because we need it more than ever. Have a good night, everybody. Love you.
Bye-bye. Bye, Felicia.
No! We just fucking lost the stream!
I guess this isn't such an awful place. Is that what you want?